One was an icy sword prodigy from the game world. The other was a veteran shut-in whose only real skill was gaming. Two people with nothing to do with each other somehow became a bickering pair bound together by fate. As it turned out, the male lead, Su Yuan, got electrocuted by a leaking keyboard and accidentally transmigrated into the world of the game. Worse, he ended up as Su Changtian, the useless third son of the villain boss. And as if that were not bad enough, he arrived right in the middle of the plot where Ran Xingma had kidnapped him. Determined not to die at the hands of his favorite female character, he used the cheat ability that came with his transmigration and gained the power to review the entire storyline. That was when he learned Ran Xingma had kidnapped him, only to force his villainous father to abandon the war against the sword sect. So Su Yuan immediately proposed a deal. As long as she did not kill him, he would help her achieve that goal. Ran Xingma studied Su Yuan's calm and composed expression, unable to hide her confusion. The man in front of her was nothing like the cowardly, useless young master described in the rumors. After thinking it over, Ran Xingma agreed to the plan. Then she sheathed her sword. The smooth, stylish motion made Su Yuan's eyes light up. He could not help thinking it looked way cooler in real life than it ever had on a screen. But in the very next second, Ran Xingma turned around, picked up a wooden stick from the ground, and smashed it straight onto his head. "You talk too much." When the unconscious Su Yuan opened his eyes again, he found himself already inside a cave. Ran Xingma was sitting nearby in meditation. At that moment, the system popped up with the upcoming plot. It showed that the third young master would die more than 10 different ridiculous deaths on the kidnapping route, including freezing to death, falling to death, drowning, and even choking on his own saliva. Shivering from the cold, Su Yuan could not help complaining. Knocking a sick man out and dragging him through the winter rain like this was basically asking for him to die on the road. So he asked Ran Xingma if she was trying to freeze him to death. Hearing that, Ran Xingma shook her head. Su Yuan immediately told her that if she did not want him dead, she needed to start fire. But when she said the fire starter was gone, he told her to just use her qi instead. The qi Su Yuan referred to was a kind of universal energy in this world, one that could be transformed into any form of power. For an expert like Ran Xingma, making a fire with qi should have been easy. To his shock, her qi could only create ice. Then, right in front of Su Yuan's disbelieving eyes, she dropped a huge chunk of ice into his hands. Su Yuan completely lost it, shouting that what a feverish patient needed was a campfire, hot water, and food. But no matter how much he said, Ran Xingma only turned her head away and stayed silent. In the end, Su Yuan could not hold on any longer and collapsed weakly against Ran Xingma. He never thought he would die right after transmigrating. He had no idea how much time passed before he suddenly tasted something sweet in his mouth. When his consciousness finally returned, he realized that Ran Xingma was feeding him medicine. "What did you make me drink?" Before she could answer, Su Yuan noticed a giant red serpent behind him, one with horns growing from its head. Ran Xingma, however, simply shook the flask in her hand. The serpent immediately reacted as if it had received an order, yellow liquid seeping from its horns and flowing neatly into her flask. Su Yuan stepped closer for a better look and discovered that the serpent's vital spot had already been pinned to the ground by an ice spike. No wonder it was being so obedient. After that, Ran Xingma gathered a pile of damp firewood. Just as Su Yuan was wondering how she planned to light it, he saw her grab the serpent by the tongue and say coldly, "Breathe fire." With a loud whoosh, the wood actually caught fire. Based on its features, Su Yuan concluded that this snake had to be the Flame's spirit python from the game, and what he had just drunk was most likely Flame's spirit essence. According to the game's lore, Flame's spirit essence could strengthen the body, refine the marrow, and nourish the kidneys. And because this beast was lustful by nature and terrified of death, the liquid also carried a mild aphrodisiac effect. The moment that thought crossed his mind, Su Yuan saw Ran Xingma take off her outer robe and start walking toward him. He immediately panicked. Was the Flame Spirit Python's effect already kicking in? And worse, there was no way he could beat her in his current state. Just as he was about to shut his eyes and accept his fate, Ran Xingma swept right past him, then held her clothes up in front of the python's mouth. So that was it. She only wanted the python to dry her clothes with its fire. Su Yuan had completely overthought it. Seeing that, Su Yuan tried to copy her and asked the python to help dry his clothes too. The creature ignored him completely. Left with no other choice, Su Yuan pointed behind himself at Ran Xingma. Under her pressure, the python could only obey unwillingly. But just as Su Yuan was feeling smug, the python's eyes suddenly turned vicious, and it spat a fireball straight at him. At the critical moment, Ran Xingma moved in time and blocked the attack with her sword. Then, with a single follow-up slash, she cut the python's head clean off. What did you just do? Faced with Ran Xingma's question, Su Yuan froze, cold sweat pouring down his forehead, because he had suddenly realized that all those absurd death routes of the Su family's third young master were probably not accidents at all. Someone really was trying to make sure he died on the road after being captured by Ran Xingma, and this flame spirit python was proof of it. A beast like this, one that feared death above all else, should never have risked everything to kill him while its weak point was nailed down. That made no sense. Sure, plenty of people wanted him dead because of his villainous father, but the demonic beasts of the Wanqing mountain range should not have been this determined. In order to stay alive, Su Yuan immediately used his plot review ability and combined it with his old game knowledge to locate a hidden cave residence. It was a place where his villainous father had once lived, and it still contained plenty of cultivation resources, enough for two people to survive there for a very long time. After a moment of consideration, Ran Xingma nodded in agreement. Still, to prevent Su Yuan from trying anything clever, she decided to lead the way herself, and the two set off through the pouring rain. But even though the map said the distance was only 2 kilometers, they walked for a full 2.5 hours and still had not arrived. Su Yuan finally snapped, threw his cane to the ground, and shouted, "If you don't know the way, then stop pretending you do." He then told Ran Xingma to hand over the map and take him up to a nearby high point. From there, he should be able to figure out the cave's actual location. Ran Xingma nodded, then activated her technique and carried Su Yuan up into the air. At the same time, her chi formed a sheet of ice beneath his feet so he could stand steadily on it. Once they reached the right height, Su Yuan began comparing the map with the surrounding landscape. It did not take long for him to confirm that the hidden cave was on Tianmen Mountain ahead of them. "Let's go. We're heading there now." The instant he finished speaking, Su Yuan suddenly felt the ground vanish beneath his feet. His whole body dropped straight down from the sky. Looking at Ran Xingma flying ahead of him, he screamed, "Hey, are you trying to kill me?" Realizing what had happened, Ran Xingma instantly flashed behind Su Yuan, caught him in her arms, and brought him safely down. Once they landed, she gave him a look full of open disdain, then casually tossed him onto the ground. Ran Xingma said coldly that it was time to go. Su Yuan was baffled. If Ran Xingma could fly, why not just carry him there? But Ran Xingma explained that she could not actually fly. What she had used just now was her movement technique, Ice Cloud Step. And even if she really could carry him through the air, Su Yuan's fragile body would be torn apart by the speed. Hearing that, Su Yuan fell into thought. The gap between cultivators and ordinary people really was absurd. With his pampered young master's body, letting Ran Xingma carry him through the sky would basically be suicide. Su Yuan suggested that if that was the case, they should find a demonic beast to use as a ride. Ran Xingma gave him a thumbs up and said it made sense, apparently taking the idea seriously. Then she bent her knees and shot straight into the depths of the forest. It was not long before the animals in the woods began fleeing in panic, their cries echoing one after another. Soon, a rustling sound came from the grass beside Su Yuan. In the next moment, Ran Xingma emerged carrying a huge tiger in one hand and asked calmly if it would work. But the second Su Yuan stepped closer, the tiger bared a vicious expression at him. It clearly did not look very cooperative. Hearing that, Ran Xingma poked the tiger, which had been acting cute just a second earlier, then picked up a wooden stick from the ground and told them to give her a moment. The moment she finished speaking, she beat the tiger soundly. 2.5 minutes later, the tiger, now covered in swollen lumps and shedding tears of stubborn humiliation, obediently carried the two of them onward. Even so, Su Yuan still felt uneasy, as though something hidden in the dark was watching him the whole time. Suddenly, a sharp pain stabbed through his chest, and he coughed up a large mouthful of blood. The problem was that the third young master had never had a condition like this in the game's original setting. Before he could figure out what was going on, his vision went black, and he fell off the tiger's back. When he opened his eyes again, for days had already passed. He hurriedly opened the system and reviewed the plot, but no matter how many times he checked, he could not find anything unusual. Su Yuan wondered to himself if he had awakened some overpowered constitution, like a sword embryo spirit body or a Dao soul divine bone. Just as Su Yuan was getting lost in his own fantasy, Ran Xingma dropped a sentence that hit him like lightning, asking if his rejection syndrome had ended. Rejection syndrome was the condition that appeared after possession, when the soul and body failed to fully harmonize. In other words, Ran Xingma already knew that the person in front of her was not the real Su Changtian, but none of that mattered much to her. As long as Su Yuan could help her stop the destruction of the sword sect, that was enough. But right at that moment, the earth suddenly began to tremble. A gray giant python charged straight at them with terrifying force. From the red flower on its head, Su Yuan instantly recognized it as a 6 rebirth 7 life python. More importantly, she was also one of the game's future heroines. After 7 cycles of shedding her skin and cultivating anew, she would transform into a mature petite beauty and meet the story's protagonist in the Great Yin Dynasty under the name Ji Qinghue. But according to the original plot, this heroine should never have encountered the 3rd young master here. Had Su Yuan's transmigration already disrupted the later storyline? Seeing Ji Qinghue's tail about to slam down, Ran Qingma immediately grabbed Su Yuan and dodged aside. Then, with a casual throw, she tossed Su Yuan back onto the tiger's back. Ran Qingma ordered the tiger to protect him, warning that it would regret it if he got hurt. Hearing that, the tiger immediately raised a paw and let out a pathetic little meow. Ran Qingma then tossed Su Yuan a small ice sword, telling him to crush it immediately if he ran into danger. Su Yuan tightened up at that and asked instinctively what she would do. Ran Qingma simply said she would kill it. The words were brief, but the moment they left her mouth, Ran Qingma was already locked in battle with Ji Qinghue. The shockwaves from their clash were strong enough to blow even the tiger away. Fortunately, it landed on its feet and immediately ran off with Su Yuan on its back. While fleeing, Su Yuan turned back and shouted at Ran Qingma that he would wait for her at Hanging Sky Cliff on Tianmen Mountain. Ran Qingma answered from afar. Then she reset her stance and prepared to continue fighting Ji Qinghue. But Ji Qinghue seemed to have only one goal from beginning to end: to kill Su Yuan. She instantly predicted the direction of his escape and spat out a purple sphere of energy. Facing the incoming attack, Su Yuan gripped the ice sword tightly and urged the tiger to think of something fast, or else he would drag it down with him. The moment it remembered the terror of being dominated by Ran Qingma, the tiger immediately stood upright, shielded Su Yuan behind its body, and took the energy blast head-on. Just as Ji Qinghue was preparing to attack again, Ran Qingma arrived in time and unleashed a burst of sword chi that slammed Ji Qinghue to the ground. The tiger seized a chance and fled with Su Yuan without looking back. As he left, Su Yuan looked back at Ran Qingma and silently prayed that she would come through safely. Before long, Su Yuan arrived at Hanging Sky Cliff. The mountain before him, the one with a massive hole through it, was Tianmen Mountain. Legend said that opening had been pierced through by a single sword strike from a supreme sword master. That made Su Yuan wonder, if someone that powerful really existed, then would not the Northern War God, who stood in direct opposition to his villainous father at court, become a complete joke? After all, no matter how brilliant a commander was, it meant nothing against a supreme expert's casual sword strike. Suddenly, Su Yuan's nose started bleeding again. It looked like this body's rejection reaction was getting stronger and stronger, and he had to find a solution fast. Just then, a loud crash erupted behind them. When he turned around, he realized it was Ji Qinghue's head, and standing on top of it was none other than the badly wounded Ran Qingma. With the last of her strength, she swung her sword and took the 6-turn snake heart lotus from Ji Qinghue's head. This was one of the top alchemy materials in the game. Legends said it could be used to refine the blood spirit body fusion pill, which possessed the heaven-defying effect of calming the soul and fusing body and spirit. If he could just find that pill, Su Yuan would be able to overcome rejection syndrome and fully merge his body and soul without leaving behind the slightest flaw. But the strange part was that Ji Qinghue, one of the game's heroines, had actually died just like that. If even the familiar plot had already changed, would Su Yuan's knowledge of the game still be useful from here on out? While he was still troubled by that thought, Ran Qingma suddenly swayed and fell straight down from the snake's head. Su Yuan rushed forward, caught her in his arms, and anxiously asked if Mr. Ran was okay. At the same time, on the other side, 2 figures arrived one after another. They were members of the Su family sent to bring back 3rd young master Su Chantian. Looking at the enormous block of ice and the corpse of the 6 rebirth 7 life python, the man could not help exclaiming that it was a good thing he was not the only one chasing them. Otherwise, by the time his companion reported back and brought reinforcements, he would probably already be frozen inside that giant block of ice. The woman beside him paused for a moment. She analyzed solemnly that someone who could fight a great demon of this level and still use techniques like these could only be one person. That was Ran Qingma of the Sword Sect. She immediately ordered the man to go notify the others and tell them they had found the 3rd young master's trail. They never made any detours along the way, so their target was obviously Tianmen Mountain right in front of them. Meanwhile, on the other side, Su Yuan took Ran Qingma with him and ran all the way to the bottom of Hanging Sky Cliff, where the hidden cave residence was located. But then Ran Qingma sensed that someone was already pursuing them from behind. Hearing that, Su Yuan was instantly terrified. In this world, possession could be detected. If the original owner's father found out he had taken over his son's body, he would definitely end up skinned, dismembered, and hung up for a beating. Ran Qingma was now seriously injured and could no longer fly. If they wanted to survive, they could only gamble on one desperate chance. Then Su Yuan picked Ran Qingma up and walked to the edge of the cliff. He asked Mr. Ran how about they make a bet. If they survived, then Ran Qingma would owe him a favor and have to help him with one thing. Hearing that, Ran Qingma glanced at the towering mountain beside them. She replied coldly that they would not survive. Su Yuan hastily explained that he meant if they did. If they really made it, then it would definitely be because the cave residents he mentioned saved them. That basically meant he saved her life too, which should be enough for her to owe him one favor. Ran Qingma fell silent for a while. Finally, she nodded in agreement, saying that if they survived, she would owe him a favor. Su Yuan shouted deal. With that, he held Ran Qingma tightly and jumped off the cliff. This scene scared the tiger beside them so much that it let out a series of miserable, frantic cat wails. At the same time, the Su family's other forces also arrived, but they still could not lock onto Ran Qingma's exact location because the mist beneath Hanging Sky Cliff could block soul detection techniques. At that moment, First Young Master Su Chang'e also arrived. With a cold sneer, he said that the Heaven Abyss illusory mist formation was indeed premeditated. Ran Qingma actually knew there was such a maze formation hidden here. He told his subordinates that this formation was built along with Tianmen Mountain itself and could not be broken by force. But after 1 month, once its vitality was exhausted, the mist would naturally disperse. Until then, he would have to trouble them to stand guard here. Then he instructed Inger not to follow him for now and to just stay there and wait. With that, Su Chang'e rose into the wind and flew toward the demon race's lair carrying Ji Qingyue's snake head. Although he also believed his younger brother Su Changtian with a useless waste, he was still one of their own. No matter what, it was not for outsiders to discipline him. Whether it was the sword sect or the demon race, they would have to pay the price. Meanwhile, on the other side, Ran Qingma and Su Yuan had already entered the cave residence successfully. Ran Qingma asked with a hint of coldness if he could let go of her hand now. Su Yuan gave an awkward laugh and quickly let go. The reason he had been holding on so tightly was because the requirement for entering the cave residence was having at least 60 fortune. But his own fortune was only 3 if he had not grabbed onto Ran Qingma, whose fortune was as high as 93. He definitely would have fallen to his death just now. Suddenly, Ran Qingma stared at Su Yuan and slowly stepped closer. For the first time ever, she actually said thank you. Seeing this, Su Yuan immediately said that thanks could not be expressed with words alone. According to their agreement, Ran Qingma still owed him a favor. After saying that, he even coughed twice for emphasis. Hearing that, Ran Qingma's mind spun rapidly, and then she asked with an openly disgusted expression what exactly he wanted to do. Su Yuan quickly told her not to get the wrong idea. For the time being, he did not have anything he needed Ran Qingma to do. Inside the cave residence was a pool and a jade bed, and hidden under the jade pillow was a sumaru ring. Unlike in other cultivation worlds, this item was a top-tier treasure in this world. Unfortunately, the sumaru ring required vitality to activate. An ordinary person like Su Yuan had no way to use it, so he could only ask Ran Qingma to take out the items inside for him. As Ran Qingma poured vitality into it, the sumaru ring immediately began to buzz strangely. In the next second, all the pills and manuals inside spilled out at once. Su Yuan practically dove onto them, afraid Ran Qingma might try to take them from him. 1 cultivation method, 1 combat technique, 1 blood jade glaze garment, and 3 bottles of pills. Among them, the 9-ring pill was a holy healing medicine, perfect for helping Ran Qingma recover. As for the blood spirit body fusion pill and the calamity fall pill, both were essential for future soul settling and body fusion. So naturally, he had no intention of sharing them with Ran Qingma. Su Yuan pointed at the now completely empty box and asked if she could give him that jade box, figuring it was useless in his hands anyway. So he generously handed it over to Ran Qingma. Ran Qingma, unwilling to take advantage of him for free, offered the snake heart lotus in exchange. After that, Su Yuan climbed onto the stone bed and prepared to start cultivating the blood origin falling star art. At the moment, this was the only way to solve the rejection between his body and foreign soul. The problem was that, as a shut-in whose only real skill was gaming. He could not understand a single thing written in the manual, let alone comprehend it. But Su Yuan soon came up with a new plan. The blood-spirit body fusion pill could calm the soul and fuse body and spirit. But if taken by itself, it would make the user explode to death. The Calamity Fall pill, meanwhile, could forcibly break open the meridians in the most literal physical sense, but the downside was death from shattered channels. So as long as he took the Calamity Fall pill first, then immediately followed it with the blood-spirit body fusion pill, letting the two completely opposing medicinal effects collide and merge, while also circulating the blood origin falling star art. The foreign soul inside him would be shattered and refined over and over again. Repeating that cycle again and again would eventually allow his body and foreign soul to fuse perfectly. Not only would his soul become incomparably solid, but all 127 meridians in his body would also be fully opened. According to the setting of Tsungyuan, the more meridians a character had opened, the less experience they needed for each level up. In other words, Su Yuan would become one of the greatest geniuses in this world. But he was not overly excited because opportunity and danger always came together. The blood origin falling star art stated it clearly: to master it, one had to remain in a near-death state, stay conscious through sheer willpower, and force the technique to circulate. In order to comprehend it as soon as possible, Su Yuan had no choice but to ask Ran Xingma to teach him the basics of cultivation. What he did not expect was that Ran Xingma would tell him to take off his clothes. Seeing Su Yuan hesitate and fidget, Ran Xingma immediately grew irritated. She explained that her injuries were too severe and her control over Qi had declined a lot. If Su Yuan kept his clothes on, he might end up getting hurt instead. Su Yuan cursed under his breath, complaining that she should have said that earlier. So Su Yuan quickly took off his clothes and lay down on the stone bed as instructed. Ran Xingma warned him that her Qi would enter his body and teach him how to identify the acupoints, and that this process might hurt a little. With that, Ran Xingma began pressing his acupoints, sequentially pointing out Bai Wei, Shunting, Ermin, and Taiyang. The pain twisted Su Yuan's face completely out of shape. Even though he had prepared himself mentally, he still had not expected it to hurt this much. Ran Xingma asked if he had remembered all of them. Su Yuan panted heavily and said he had mostly memorized them. The moment she heard the words "mostly memorized," Ran Xingma looked at him as if he were an idiot. Then she grabbed him and prepared to teach him all over again. If he could not remember them, she would just keep pressing until he did. Before long, Su Yuan's screams were echoing non-stop through the canyon. Soon, a month passed, and Su Yuan's strength advanced by leaps and bounds. Not only had he mastered Ran Xingma's Lotus Sword art, he had also become completely familiar with the meridians. Next, it was finally time to attempt the blood origin falling star art. But just then, the cave residents suddenly began to tremble. Ran Xingma judged that the formation outside was about to dissipate, and there were probably only 2 hours left. Su Yuan immediately panicked. The Su family was waiting outside now, including Su Chang'e, the original owner's older brother. In the game's plot, Su Chang'e had already reached the primordial origin stage 10 years ago, and he had severely injured Ran Xingma in just 2 moves. If they discovered right now that Su Yuan's soul and body were not aligned, then both he and Ran Xingma would be doomed. Looking at the blood origin falling star art in his hand, Su Yuan decided to gamble again. He climbed onto the jade bed and asked Ran Xingma to put him into a near-death state while keeping his consciousness awake. Ran Xingma looked worried and asked if he would really be okay doing this. Su Yuan gritted his teeth and said this was the only way now. Ran Xingma nodded and told him to get ready. As soon as she finished speaking, Ran Xingma waved her hand, and Su Yuan's body immediately began to freeze over. Just as his consciousness started to blur, Ran Xingma tapped his forehead and forcibly kept him awake. Seizing the moment, Su Yuan suddenly poured both bottles of pills into his mouth. Instantly, excruciating pain swept through his entire body. Enduring the agony, he pulled out the blood origin falling star art and began circulating the technique by force. As the technique merged into him, all of Su Changtian's memories flooded into Su Yuan's mind. This included, but was not limited to, peeping on the granddaughter of a court minister while she bathed, bullying men and women in the streets, renting out every single courtesan in a brothel all by himself, only to be found out by his villainous father and tied up like a roasting pig before being whipped for 3 days and 3 nights. Very soon, 2 hours passed, and all the chi around Su Yuan dispersed. Then he draped the blood jade glazed garment over himself, and his entire aura became completely different from before. Ran Qingma suddenly broke the silence, saying her name was Ran Qingma. Hearing that, Su Yuan smiled and said he knew. Su Yuan then replied that his name was Su Changtian. Right at that moment, the formation vanished, and the cave residence was forcibly broken open by the Su family. They intended not only to take the third young master away, but also to execute Ran Qingma on the spot. Su Yuan told Ran Qingma to stay inside the cave for the moment, while he walked forward alone to face Zhou Ku, Inger, and the others, hoping they would let Ran Qingma leave. When they refused to listen, Su Yuan immediately activated the Blood Origin Falling Star art. Pressing blood-red chi against his own throat, he threatened them with death, stating that he had already told them to let Mr. Ran leave. Ran Qingma stared at the scene in shock. She had never imagined Su Yuan would go this far for her. The leader hastily tried to calm him down, asking what the third young master thought he was doing since they were trying to save him. Su Yuan sneered, saying that saving him and letting Mr. Ran go were not in conflict at all. Older brother Su Chang'e finally gave the order to let her leave and just bring Chang Tian back up. With his order, the group finally agreed to let her go. Before leaving, Su Yuan lowered his voice and told Ran Qingma that if she changed her mind about the cooperation they agreed on earlier, she could come find him in Jinjiang City. Ran Qingma gave a quiet response. Then she rose into the air, leaving behind a final instruction for Su Changtian to take care. Just like that, Ran Qingma left safely, while Su Yuan was taken back up by Inger. Looking at the snake head beneath his brother, Su Yuan was startled. The dark green horns and the 7 red flowers on its head made it easy for him to judge that this had to be Ji Qingyue's older sister, Ji Fenghua. The story had only just begun, yet 2 heroines had already died one after another. That could only mean the butterfly effect had already sent the plot completely off the rails. Just then, Su Chang'e picked up a whip and lashed it straight at Su Yuan, clearly planning to teach his disappointing younger brother a proper lesson. Unexpectedly, Su Yuan dodged the attack with ease. Seeing that, Su Chang'e swung the whip again, but this time Su Yuan did not dodge. Instead, he grabbed the whip firmly in his hand. Su Yuan looked him straight in the eye and asked if he was actually serious right now. Looking at the blood-red chi wrapped around Su Yuan's hand, Su Chang'e admitted that the technique was impressive. But there was one problem. How could his useless little brother possibly have comprehended a technique like that? So he immediately controlled a gale and bound Su Yuan in midair. Su Yuan's heart sank at once, wondering if Su Chang'e had already noticed something. Su Chang'e turned and ordered Master Jiueshing to check Changtian's body. Before the words had even fully settled, Master Jiueshing was already standing in front of Su Yuan and struck his chest with a palm. He was checking his soul mark. But to his shock, the third young master's body not only showed no abnormalities, it had actually become an innate Dao body. Su Chang'e was equally stunned. In the next second, he shot straight towards Su Yuan, studying him carefully from head to toe. Su Yuan glared right back and asked what he was staring at, threatening that once his cultivation caught up, Su Chang'e was dead. Hearing that, Su Chang'e grinned as the chi around him dispersed, mocking him and asking if a worthless piece of trash really thought he could do that. He snorted coldly, saying that getting a little bit of luck had made his tail shoot up to the heavens, and promised to deal with him properly once they returned to Jinjiang City. With that, he snapped his fingers. A gigantic eagle, carrying an entire pavilion, answered the call and descended. Su Yuan was completely stunned. He had already seen this thing plenty of times in the game, but seeing such a massive, flying fortress in real life still hit completely differently. On the way back, Su Yuan opened the system and reviewed the plot. In the original world line, Su Chang'e had fought Ji Fenghua once, only to lose by the narrowest margin. In the end, Ji Fenghua transformed into a giant python, swallowed him whole, and left him dead with his body and Dao completely destroyed. But now the one who had died was Ji Fenghua instead. So was Ji Fenghua simply stronger later in the plot, or had this bargain bin older brother of his somehow become weaker? While Su Yuan was still thinking about it, Inger walked in and reported to the eldest young master that they had reached Jinjiang City. Hearing that, Su Yuan immediately stuck his head out and looked out the window. This was his first time entering a city since transmigrating. He was genuinely curious what it would look like inside. But the moment he got off the giant eagle, Su Chang'e kicked him straight into solitary confinement. He also threw a few bottles of pills at him, telling him to stay in the room and reflect on his actions. Su Yuan poured the pills out to take a look. There was the Lingqing pill to accelerate soul recovery, the Guangling pill to strengthen the meridians, the Humai pill to protect the heart, and the Daihun pill to temper the soul. Su Yuan could not help sighing. This was not treatment at all. It was basically a beginner gift pack. It seemed that, cold as he looked on the surface, this older brother was actually not that bad to his real little brother. Just then, Inger pushed open the door. She had come to deliver freshly brewed medicine, in the original owner's memories. The lust-driven scumbag, Su Changtian, had once set his sights on Inger and had even tried asking Su Chang'e to hand her over. Naturally, that had ended with him getting beaten badly. To dispel Su Chang'e's suspicions, Su Yuan took advantage of the moment Inger was setting down the medicine and slapped her on the butt. After a moment of dead silence, Su Yuan saw his left hand get cut off by a sword in a terrifying illusion. He was instantly horrified, but in reality, his hand was still there. That had only been a sword-intent warning from Inger. Su Yuan stumbled backward and fell to the floor, then imitated Su Changtian's usual manner. He cursed at Inger's departing back, calling her a bastard, screaming about how she dared to treat him like that, and threatening to have his father kill her. The act worked perfectly. Zhou Ku, who had been hiding nearby and watching, praised him immediately, saying that as expected of the third young master, his guts really were something else to dare touch a woman like that. Ziyu just smiled and said that was nothing. Back then, even the granddaughter of Marquis Wucheng, the Northern War god himself, had been abducted back to the Chancellor's manor by the third young master. The scene then shifted, and Su Yuan arrived at Drunken Immortal Tower with Zhou Ku. Not only was the place full of beautiful courtesans, it was also crowded with furious Confucian scholars. The leading man, emboldened by alcohol, loudly cursed Chancellor Su China, accusing him of hoarding troops, forming corrupt factions, and harboring treacherous ambitions. He then cursed his third son, Su Changtian, saying he abducted innocent women, oppressed the people, and was lower than a beast. Meanwhile, Su Yuan stood on the top floor of Drunken Immortal Tower, watching the whole thing without the slightest ripple in his heart. After all, they were cursing Su Changtian. What did that have to do with Su Yuan? At that moment, Zhou Ku walked over with two girls. The guy kept saying he was now Su Yuan's bodyguard and teacher. But the instant he arrived at Drunken Immortal Tower, he wrapped an arm around each girl and headed for a room, even inviting Su Yuan along. Su Yuan, however, made it clear that they were not the same kind of person. He only had one goal now, and that was to kill the next person who wanted him dead. Just then, his subordinate Shui Yong came to report that they had finally found the exclusive courtesan the third young master had ordered them to investigate in secret. Shui Yong added that she was right here in Drunken Immortal Tower, and tomorrow would be the day of her debut. Su Yuan's heart immediately sank because the plot had gone off track again. According to the original storyline, she was supposed to be in Xiaoxiang Pavilion in the south of the city, where the original body would end up fighting the protagonist over her and get beaten to death. But now this woman had somehow followed the plot here instead, as if she had appeared specifically to trigger a conflict between Su Yuan and the protagonist. Su Yuan coldly demanded to know when she had arrived. Shui Yong replied that she had already been there for half a month. Hearing that answer, Su Yuan's anger flared instantly. He furiously demanded to know why. If he had ordered the investigation 20 days ago, Shui Yong was only reporting it now, right before her debut. Shui Yong merely cupped his hands with a look of disdain, offering a half-hearted apology about his incompetence and asking the young master to punish him. This Shui Yong belonged to 4th Miss's faction, and the 4th Miss had always looked down on the 3rd young master. No surprise that her subordinate acted the exact same way. Shui Yong relied on his high cultivation and was not afraid of getting beaten at all. After all, if Su Yuan hit him, the recoil would only end up hurting Su Yuan instead. Just then, Zhou Ku suddenly appeared. With a single palm strike, he crippled Shui Yong's left hand on the spot, making him drop to his knees and scream in pain. Zhou Ku sneered, asking how a mere guard dared to show disrespect to the 3rd young master, and noting how insolent the people under the 4th Miss were. He then turned to Su Yuan and asked if they should just leave the man crippled or kill him outright. Hearing that, Su Yuan fell silent for a moment. He knew this was another one of Zhou Ku's tests. With the original Su Changtian's paranoid and violent temperament, Shui Yong had to die today. Thinking that through, Su Yuan stated calmly that he did not want to see this man again. The moment he heard those words, Shui Yong was so terrified he wet himself. He screamed at Zhou Ku that he could not kill him, warning that if he did, according to the Chancellor's rules, Zhou Ku would be punished too. Zhou Ku just laughed, mocking him for memorizing the rules so well, but pointing out that the one who wanted him dead was the 3rd young master, so it had nothing to do with him. And just like that, Shui Yong was killed on the spot. Afterward, though, Zhou Ku reminded him that the 4th Miss might become troublesome over this, since she valued Shui Yong quite highly. Su Yuan immediately snapped back in anger, declaring that if his mother had not taken that bitch in as an adopted daughter back then, who knew which brothel she would be laughing in right now. He cursed that the fourth miss was nothing but a bastard. Just then, the madam's voice rang out, loudly announcing that the sisters Zai and Zihua were coming to the stage next. Looking at the stunning pair of sisters on stage, Zhou instantly forgot everything that had just happened and began enthusiastically praising their figures. He leaned in with a wide grin and asked if the third young master wanted to call both of them up. Su Yuan could not help complaining inwardly. This so-called great expert really had no shame at all. He was always trying to freeload, and half the time he looked ready to freeload his way into bed too. So he coldly refused, reminding him that they were not the same kind of people. Hearing that, Zhou rubbed his hands together and grinned, saying that not being the same kind of people was fine, but surely he could at least use the back door. Su Yuan went completely speechless and hurriedly shut the topic down. He planned to go downstairs himself, find the madam, intercept that courtesan before anyone else, and use her as a clue to track down the person hiding behind the scenes and trying to kill him. After finding the drunken Immortal Towers madam, Su Yuan immediately made two demands. First, he wanted the sister pair sent to the top floor. Second, he wanted the newly arrived courtesan delivered to his room. The madam agreed to the first request without hesitation, but the second one made her visibly uneasy. She smiled apologetically and explained that there would be a poetry gathering in Bamboo Court tomorrow night, so there was no need for the third young master to be in such a rush. Su Yuan did not waste another word. He pulled out 10,000 taels in banknotes. He slapped them onto the table and demanded to know if she was sending her or not. The madam was instantly tempted. Even so, she still refused to agree. Seeing that, Su Yuan simply left the banknotes behind and prepared to go straight to Bamboo Court to find her himself. The madam hurriedly called out, protesting that there were rules to everything and that forcing a sale like this just was not right. Realizing she could not talk him down, the madam activated her technique and prepared to stop Su Yuan by force. But Zhou, as a true powerhouse, was no easy opponent. In a single exchange, he pinned the madam flat against the wall. Zhou mocked her, asking Yuan Yang why she was making this harder than it had to be, and questioning if 10,000 taels was not fragrant enough already. As he spoke, Su Yuan also gestured for Zhou to let go. The madam slumped weakly onto the floor and pleaded bitterly. She said that if Drunken Immortal Tower were truly her property, she would never refuse anything the third young master wanted. But that new girl had been delivered personally by Mr. Qin, and he had personally laid down the rules, so she could only obey and begged him not to make things harder for her. Hearing that, Su Yuan turned to Zhou with a puzzled look, asking who exactly this Mr. Qin was. Zhou explained through soul transmission that he was a noble-born young master with an inborn sword bone, highly renowned throughout Jiangnan, and there had even been talk that he was fit to stand shoulder to shoulder with the eldest young master. That only made Su Yuan even more puzzled, because he had never once seen this person in the game, nor did he know which faction in Songyuan he belonged to. Marquis Wuqing was loyal and upright by nature. He was not the sort who would target a third young master like him. The Crown Prince's faction was also still in a honeymoon period with the Chancellor's estate. As for the local sects, that was even less likely. If they were the ones making a move, they would never have sent Ran Qingma, the sword sect leader's only disciple, to risk kidnapping him personally. At the moment, there were still too few clues. The only thing he could confirm was that this Mr. Qin was clearly targeting the third young master. Su Yuan sneered, stating that if she was the top courtesan Mr. Qin had personally selected, then he had even less reason to miss out. Su Yuan then told the madam that if Mr. Qin wanted to blame someone, he could come directly to him. Su Yuan himself wanted to see what kind of talent this so-called Mr. Qin was, the one said to be worthy of standing alongside his older brother. Before long, Su Yuan arrived at Bamboo Court. After pushing the door open, he saw Su Jinxian seated on the couch, lightly plucking the strings of a zither with her fingertips. Su Yuan immediately felt his old face heat up, inwardly cursing her beauty. She really was born with a body made for charm. No wonder the original Su Changtian, a seasoned veteran of the flower field, had been so infatuated with her that he had been reduced to a pathetic, obsessed lapdog. Su Jinxian asked softly if the third young master was interested in music too. Su Yuan replied that he understood nothing about music and only liked the most natural human voices. Then he glanced toward the bed beside her, noting that Miss Jinxian surely knew why he had come to see her. To his surprise, Su Jinxian immediately pulled out a hairpin, pressed it to her throat, and mournfully begged him not to force this little woman any further. Su Yuan let out a snore of laughter, mocking her and asking what era this was for her to still be pulling that kind of act. As he spoke, he activated his blood-red chi and flicked a finger, instantly knocking the hairpin from Su Jinchuan's hand. Su Yuan chuckled and told her not to worry, promising he would be gentle. Just as Su Yuan thought he was about to get his way, his mouth and body suddenly slipped out of his control, and he actually began apologizing to her on his own. Then he moved back to the seat behind him and sat down by himself. Cold sweat broke out on Su Yuan's forehead. Inwardly, he cursed, wondering if this was Kotoa Mitsukami. He could not believe this world had such a bizarre attack method. He could only feel the surface of his foreign soul, now covered in drifting particles. If not for the toughness of his innate Tao body, those things probably would already have taken over his consciousness completely. After that, Su Jinxian began controlling Su Yuan's body, staging a fake little drama in which he insisted on sleeping beside her without actually touching her. Her purpose was simple: to stall for time and let those particles burrow deeper into Su Yuan's innate soul body until she could control him completely. Su Yuan lay on the bed, but inside his mind, he was desperately trying to figure out how to save himself. Back in the cave residence, besides the Blood Origin Falling Star art, he had also obtained an unnamed manual for cultivating the foreign soul, and it happened to be an offensive one. Its attack method was absurdly direct, devouring other people's foreign souls. To avoid alerting the enemy, Su Yuan decided to wear her down slowly first. 5 days later, Su Jinxian gradually began to feel weak and drained, while Su Yuan, on the other hand, looked more energetic than ever. Gasping for breath, she asked Su Yuan what exactly he had done to her and why she woke up every day feeling weak all over. Su Yuan gave her a wicked smile, suggesting that if she felt weak all over, perhaps he could massage her shoulders for her. As he spoke, he reached out a hand toward her. Su Jinxian immediately slapped it away, then tried to use feeling unwell as an excuse to leave. But Su Yuan had no intention of letting her go and reached out to grab her on the spot. In the very next second, a mass of pink-robed figures appeared once more across the surface of his foreign soul, and they began drawing power from Su Yuan's foreign soul instead. Clearly, Su Jinxian was also cultivating a soul-devouring technique. The difference, though, was that after absorbing a certain amount of soul force, those pink-robed figures would crumble apart in the air, which actually made them easier for Su Yuan to absorb and refine in return. Su Yuan feigned deep affection, pointing out that they had been inseparable these past few days and asking if Ms. Jinxian could really bear to leave just like that. He then suggested that she let him come with her instead. As he spoke, Su Yuan kept pressing forward step by step, wanting to see whether she still had any hidden cards left. Seeing this, Su Jinxian directly shoved Su Yuan down, climbed onto him, and asked in a low, teasing voice if the third young master really wanted to come with his servant. The moment those words fell, the power of the pink-robed figures surged again. Seeing that Su Jinxian had finally shown her full hand, Su Yuan stopped holding back as well and went all out, devouring her foreign soul like mad. After 5 days of continuous attrition, and with Su Yuan now already at 9th grade, there was no way Su Jinxian could defeat him. After resisting for a short while, she was finally overwhelmed and fell unconscious. Her body dropped limply beside Su Yuan. Only then did Su Yuan let out a long breath. He turned and shouted furiously toward the door for Inger to get out there already. But no one responded at all. Su Yuan sucked in a deep breath, then roared in fury, demanding they get the hell out there and asking if they had not seen he was being controlled by this woman for 5 whole days. A long while later, the door finally opened. Inger walked in and stated that Su Jinxian herself had no cultivation. Then CZU also stepped inside, confirming that the third young master was indeed attacked and that there was still a residual trace of first soul there. CZU continued, stating that after he and Inger examined the situation, they could confirm that this person was definitely not a practitioner of the soul path. She was nothing more than an ordinary woman. If Su Yuan had not possessed the innate soul body, anyone else would have already been brainwashed into becoming her loyal lapdog. Suddenly, Zhou Ke's voice came from outside the door. He teased that if it was not a foreign soul and there was no vitality involved, then it had to be a body talent, so it was not hard to guess at all. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Ke pushed the door open and casually tossed the unconscious madam onto the bed. He told the third young master that he figured he would definitely ask him to catch this woman afterward, so he had brought her here in advance. Su Yuan gave a brief response, then asked Zhou Ke what exactly he meant by body talent. Zhou Ke asked in return if the third young master still remembered the 7-life python he and Ranqingma had killed together. He explained that its 7 cycles of molting and rebirth were its body talent. This kind of talent had nothing to do with cultivation level. Just like Su Yuan's innate Dao body, even before entering the ranks, his first soul could already leave his body. Zhou Ke concluded that this ability to control another person's body should be the Charm Soul demon body. Su Yuan opened the system and checked. He found that the cultivation method most suited to the Charm Soul demon body was none other than the Great Joy Yin Yang art, the technique the story's protagonist would practice only if he took the evil path route. After that, Su Yuan told Zhou Ke to report the matter to Su Chang'e, feed the madam a mind-bewitching pill, and then send her back. After all, if they took the madam away now, they would definitely alert the enemy. Before leaving, Zhou Ke reminded Su Yuan not to get too deeply involved with Su Jinxian. The deeper the contact with someone who had the Charm Soul demon body, the more likely one's mind would be controlled. Hearing that, Su Yuan let out a rather regretful sigh. Then he told Inger to wake Su Jinxian up and bring her back to the manor for a proper interrogation. Inger opened a medicine bottle and placed it in front of Su Jinxian, making sure she could inhale the medicine inside. But in the next second, Su Yuan's expression suddenly darkened. He raised his hand and slapped Inger on the backside again. Seeing this, Ziyu helplessly covered his forehead. Now there was no doubt about it. This was definitely the third young master himself. He had already suffered for it once, yet he still dared to touch this woman's backside again. Soon, Su Jinxian woke up. Su Yuan immediately put on a concerned expression and told Miss Jinxian that he had already found a physician for her. He then smoothly insisted that she come back to the manor with him now. On the way back, Su Yuan's group happened to run into the protagonist of the game's story, Qin Mo. Qin Mo was heading toward Drunken Immortal Tower with a friend. That was because he had once made an agreement with Su Jinxian. If he could retrieve a spirit beast core from Wind Pressure Forest within half a month, she would play a private song for him. Looking at the 7th rank beast core in Qin Mo's hand, his friend was deeply shocked. Qin Mo was only an 8th rank martial artist, yet he had killed a 7th rank spirit beast above his level. A genius like that was definitely worth befriending. Still, when it came to Su Jinxian, his friend decided to tell the truth, warning Qin Mo that he probably would not be seeing Miss Jinxian today, or maybe ever again. Qin Mo looked confused and asked brotherly what he meant. Hearing that, his friend pointed at the carriage nearby, explaining that Su Chantian, the 3rd young master of the Chancellor's Manor, had forcibly canceled Miss Jinxuan's debut day, and she was probably inside that carriage right now. Qin Mo froze in disbelief. The moment he turned his head, his eyes met Zhou Ke's. Clearly, Zhou Ke had heard every word of their conversation. Zhou Ke could barely hold back the smile in his eyes. Then, with a sleazy grin, he pointed toward the carriage behind him, signaling that the woman Qin Mo longed for was inside. Seeing this, Qin Mo's face instantly turned cold. His fist clenched so tightly that his knuckles cracked, yet there was nothing he could do. Zhou Ke burst into laughter at the sight, then drove the carriage forward. Su Yuan asked Zhou Ke what he was laughing about. Zhou Ke waved it off and said it was nothing. He had simply overheard 2 people talking about Miss Su and the 3rd young master, and figuring one of them was probably Miss Su's admirer. He found it amusing and teased him a little. Su Yuan chuckled, teasingly remarking that Jinxian really was popular. After that, Su Yuan continued reading the urgent report in his hands. But the more he read, the more confused he became, because almost everything written on it described a peaceful, flourishing Great Yin dynasty. As for the war in the north, it was only mentioned briefly in a small corner. But according to the original body's memories, the Northern War situation had already become extremely severe. Hanbei City was the gateway to the northern provinces. Once it fell, there would be no natural defenses left behind it. A key fortress like that was now facing the barbarian army right at its walls, yet the report had not mentioned a word of it. Thinking of this, Su Yuan looked at Zhou Ke and asked if he knew anything about the war in the north. Zhou Ke said he had never been to the northern border, so he did not know the exact situation. He told Su Yuan that if the 3rd young master truly wanted to understand the situation, he could ask the steward for the Chancellor's Manor's internal reports once they returned, as those were much more detailed than the urgent report. He added that the people from the Zhaoan Bureau had always reported only good news while burying the bad. He also mentioned that when he was previously ordered to travel from the imperial capital to Jinjiang City, he had run into demonic beasts attacking people more times than he could count. Su Yuan frowned at the mention of demonic beast attacks and questioned where the Heaven Watching Bureau was, since it was exactly their responsibility. Hearing that, Zhou Ke gave a helpless smile and explained that it was because the court had no money. Su Yuan told Zhou Ke to explain the reason behind that. Zhou Ke said that corrupt officials were only part of the problem. He asked the third young master if he knew how many sect-owned businesses there actually were in Jinjiang City, from Drunken Immortal Tower in the south to Shaoxiang Pavilion in the north, as well as the demonic beast market in the east, and the vast fields outside the city. He explained that all of these belonged to the sects, who used them to support disciples that were not part of their main lineages. The money they consumed each year was several times greater than the annual military funds for the border army, yet they did not even pay taxes. Zhou could continue to explain that what the sects followed was the tribute system, and they decided for themselves how much they offered each year. The chancellor had repeatedly submitted memorials to the crown prince hoping to fix the problem, but every time, the crown prince rejected him on the grounds that ancestral institutions should not be changed lightly. Zhou could guess that Mr. Qin had targeted the third young master mostly because of this matter. Su Yuan was stunned by the revelation. To think the court could not collect a single coin from them. That was even more outrageous than the ancient gentry. At that moment, Su Jinshuan's voice suddenly came from inside the carriage, stating that she had heard everything they just said. Su Yuan had not tried to hide it either, so he calmly replied that since he had not avoided speaking in front of her, of course she could hear it. Looking at the white stockings on Su Jinshuan's legs, Su Yuan's face turned slightly red. He secretly thought that if she had started with this kind of move, he might have already fallen for her. Then Su Yuan asked Su Jinxian how she had actually met that Mr. Qin. Su Jinxian said in a low voice that 10 years ago, her family had fallen from power, and while fleeing, they had been hunted down by their enemies. It was Mr. Qin who had saved her and raised her until now. Su Yuan could not help roasting inwardly, thinking this plot was way too cliché. He then asked if Miss Jinxian still remembered who those enemies were, offering to help her avenge that blood debt if they were still alive. However, Su Jinxian said the revenge had already been taken. Su Yuan sneered, directly pointing out that Mr. Qin must have already wiped out all her enemies in private. Su Jinxian understood the implication in Su Yuan's words and immediately told him not to make baseless guesses. Su Yuan only smiled and continued his deduction, guessing that since Mr. Qin was able to raise her until now, her parents must have also died during that so-called escape. He pointed out how convenient it was that a person possessing the charm soul demon body just happened to meet Mr. Qin at her lowest point, and that he just happened to save her. A special constitution capable of controlling people's minds without anyone noticing was something anyone would be tempted by, especially for a powerful figure like Mr. Qin. Killing her entire family would only take a few words from him. Hearing this, Su Jinxian began trembling all over. She suddenly raised her head and shouted back at Su Yuan, retorting that not everyone in the world had nature like his. She insisted that Mr. Qin had always treated her like his own younger sister, and that she had come here voluntarily to share his burden. Su Yuan calmly questioned if he really treated her like a sister. He then threatened to spread the news right now that Su Jinxian had been captured and was about to be executed. He said he wanted to see whether Mr. Qin would choose to disappear and run, or come to the Su Manor to save her. For a moment, Su Jinxian had no idea how to argue back. Even so, she still refused to reveal any more information about Mr. Qin. So Su Yuan could only ask one final question, demanding to know her exact relationship with Qin Mo. Su Jinxian lifted her eyes to him and asked if the young master was asking out of jealousy. Su Yuan wrapped an arm around Su Jinxian, lowered his voice, and admitted that maybe he was, adding that he was honestly quite interested in a constitution like the charm soul demon body. Su Jinxian softly asked what benefit she would get if she told him. Su Yuan smiled and replied that there was obviously a benefit. Once they returned to the manor, and he handed her over to Inger, he would put in a few good words for her and ask Inger to be gentle. Su Jinxian lowered her head and stated she would rather not have that benefit, asking only that the third young master give her a quick death. After that, she told him about the agreement between her and Qin Mo, but that bit of information was clearly far from enough. After a moment of silence, Su Jinxian added that she had approached Qin Mo because Mr. Qin said his background might not be simple and that he might even be connected to a place called Burial Village. Su Yuan had originally thought their meeting was a coincidence. He had not expected it to be part of someone else's careful arrangement. Then Su Yuan opened the system and began checking information about Burial Village. It was a village located deep in the mountains along Great Yan's border, both peaceful and extremely dangerous. It was peaceful because all sorts of elders in the village treated the story's protagonist very well. It was dangerous because those elders were all retired powerhouses. In their past lives, they had been either notorious thieves or great demons. Yet this run-down little village, which had gathered all kinds of terrifying figures, was eventually wiped out completely by Su Yuan's chancellor father himself. Only one young man, who had accidentally entered the mountains to hunt, survived alone. And that young man was Qin Mo. With a blood feud like that between them, Qin Mo and the Chancellor's manor had no room for reconciliation. So Su Yuan had to find Qin Mo as soon as possible and eliminate him before he truly grew into a threat. Based on the clues they currently had, Qin Mo's possible routes could roughly be narrowed down to 3. The first was the classic hot-blooded hero route. The more injured he became, the stronger his comeback would be. The second was the hidden Old Master route. Everything would be controlled by a powerful mentor behind the scenes, and under special conditions, his strength could skyrocket. The third was the Evil Path route, where he cultivated the great Joy Yin-Yang art. The first and third routes were manageable. Once they found Qin Mo, they could simply send Zhou Ke to kill him. The most troublesome one was the second route. Among the people Su Yuan currently knew, probably only Su Chang'e could guarantee a clean kill. Even that icy block, Ran Qingma, might not be completely reliable. Suddenly, Su Yuan noticed that Su Jinxian seemed to be trembling. It looked like she was deeply afraid of the interrogation methods used by the Chancellor's Manor shadow guards. Seeing this, Su Yuan offered to ask her one more question. If her answers satisfied him, he would not hand her over to Enro later. Su Yuan addressed her directly, asking what exactly Mr. Qin's purpose was in having her control him. However, Su Jinxian remained stubborn and insisted that she did not know. Unfortunately, that was not the answer Su Yuan wanted. After returning to the Su Manor, Su Yuan decisively handed Su Jinxian over to Ing. Then he asked the great expert Zhou Ke to investigate the massacre of Su Jinshuan's family. There were simply too many coincidences, and Su Yuan suspected there had to be something hidden behind it. After leaving the investigation of Su Jinshuan's family massacre to Zhou Ke, the two of them went to the training room and began cultivating. The reason Su Yuan brought Zhou Ke along was because Zhou Ke's cultivation method could gather the surrounding qi, making it easier for Su Yuan to absorb and refine. After 10 straight days and nights of non-stop cultivation, Su Yuan finally broke through to the 8th rank. At this point, he had already used up all the pills meant to protect his foundation, so he prepared to ask the steward for more. On the way, they passed by the martial proclamation courtyard. When Su Yuan looked inside, he saw that the place was filled with either muscular men or Amazonian powerhouses. Zhou Ke explained that these people had entered cultivation through the martial apprentice path, so most of them had extremely sturdy bodies. As it turned out, the Heaven Watching Pavilion had once divided cultivation into 4 major paths. There were the Qi Path, Martial Path, Soul Path, Formation Path, and others. Although the Heaven Watching Pavilion had already been destroyed, the names of the realms it established had continued to be used to this day. Among them, methods like the Martial Apprentice Path, which relied on harsh physical training, had already fallen far behind in the current era. Worse, they could easily leave behind lifelong hidden injuries that were nearly impossible to heal. Su Yuan was confused as to why they would still learn it, if that was the case. Zhou Ke said helplessly that for people like them, if they wanted to cultivate, that was the only path available. After all, cultivation methods were far too distant from ordinary people. Su Yuan told him to explain further. Hearing that, Zhou Ke tilted his head back and took a large gulp of wine. In the end, he summed it all up with a single phrase. The law is not lightly passed on. Almost all cultivation manuals and secret techniques were monopolized by the sects, yet there were far too many people who wanted to change their fate through cultivation. Countless people died every day fighting over cultivation methods. If ordinary people wanted to obtain manuals, their only choices were to join the army or become servants of noble families. Although the sects opened their gates every few years to recruit disciples, their requirements were brutally strict. One not only needed outstanding talent, but also a noble family background. Ordinary people were not even qualified to stand at the entrance and watch. It was under this kind of situation that the Tianan Chamber of Commerce established the Tianan Martial Hall. Even with the protection of Great Yan's chancellor, it still nearly collapsed several times. But from that point on, ordinary people finally had a path that allowed them to step into cultivation. Zhou Ke was one of them, using the silver he had saved since childhood through all kinds of street hustles and scams. Zhou Ke became one of the first cultivators of the Tianan Martial Hall. Yet what his 100 taels of silver bought him was only a body-tempering fist manual, a single-person room, and thousands of fellow students. But for Zhou Ke, that was already enough. Although the Tianan Martial Hall had only just started, its internal structure was already quite complete. There were all kinds of assessments and competitions. In simple terms, the capable stayed, while the weak were eliminated. Cultivation resources were distributed according to ranking. The higher one ranked, the more resources one received. Because of that, everyone in the Martial Hall fought desperately to climb higher. During competitions, some died, while others were crippled. And Joku was exactly someone who had fought, struggled, and risked his life step by step to become a third-rank grandmaster. After hearing Joku's story, Su Yuan could not help sighing. The cultivation path of these martial apprentices really was bitter. However, the Tianan Martial Hall, protected by his so-called father, appeared to offer ordinary people a chance to cultivate on the surface, but in reality, it looked more like an open recruitment system for soldiers. So Su Yuan went to the scripture repository, planning to look through some ancient records so he could better understand the relationship between his chancellor father and the Great Yin dynasty. Just then, Inger suddenly appeared. She informed the third young master that the chancellor was looking for him. On the way, Su Yuan asked Inger whether Su Jinxian had revealed any useful clues. Inger replied that she had revealed some things, but not much. 10 days ago, before Inger left the manor for business, Su Jinxian had confessed a little. Now that Inger had just returned, she was preparing to question her again. Su Yuan was stunned, because what Inger used this time was not physical torture. Instead, she had tied up Su Jinxuan's hands and feet, sealed her hearing, and thrown her into a dark room filled with soft blankets. That kind of mental torment was enough to break a person within 3 days. Yet Inger had kept her locked up for a full 10 days. Thinking about Su Jinxuan's current mental state, Su Yuan could not help shivering. Then he asked Inger what she had actually gone out to do. Inger answered calmly that she had gone to investigate Qin Weijio, who was in fact Mr. Qin. Su Yuan immediately asked if she had found anything. However, Inger ignored him outright. Su Yuan cursed inwardly. If it were Joku, he definitely would have told him. It seemed Inger still needed to be properly disciplined later. After that, the two arrived at a cluster of courtyards in the northwest part of the residence. Inside the courtyard, a blue light orb began to glow, and a voice came from within. The person inside asked how he had been lately, and added that Chang'e had mentioned his constitution was quite good now. Su Yuan smiled and replied that it was nothing special, just an innate Tao body, only a little stronger than Chang'e's. Hearing that, a suppressed laugh came from the other side of the light orb. The voice remarked that being able to cultivate was a good thing, instructing him to improve his strength as quickly as possible and to ask the steward for more pills if he ran out. Su Yuan acknowledged it, then asked his father what exactly Qin Weijio's background was. A smile tugged at the corner of Su Yinghe's mouth as he said that since Su Yuan was interested, he would let Chang'e explain it to him. At the same time, inside the Chancellor's manor in the imperial capital, Su Chang'e, who was sitting beside Su Yuan's so-called father, began telling him about Qin Weijio. Su Chang'e recounted that more than 10 years ago, he had traveled with Qin Weijio in Jiangnan Prefecture and mentioned the time of their first meeting. Su Yuan immediately cut in, stating that he already knew that, and he also knew everything about what happened at the Tianyuan conference 13 years ago. Su Chang'e continued, noting that Qin Weijio was from a sect and was born into a 1,000-year noble clan. Su Yuan could not help complaining, urging Su Chang'e to just get to the point. Su Chang'e coldly called him by his full name, ordering Su Changtian to shut his mouth. Su Yuan gave a dry laugh and backed down, admitting he misspoke, but pointing out that all of this was already common knowledge. Su Chang'e's face remained cold as he warned that he had business in Jiyuan City in a while. Hearing that, Su Yuan instantly behaved himself and stopped interrupting. After all, Jiyuan City was less than 40 kilometers from Jinjiang City, where he currently was. Then Su Yuan recalled the so-called Tianyuan conference. On the surface, it was a grand event held to encourage the younger generation of the world. In reality, it was a meeting ground for the sect masters and elders of various sects. Back then, however, Su Chang'e had fought with killing intent against those sect disciples during the competition. And Qin Weijio was one of the few people who survived Su Chang'e's sword art. From that alone, one could naturally imagine what their relationship was like. After that, Su Yuan asked his so-called father whether he knew of a place called Burial Village. Su Yinghe calmly stated that he naturally knew of Burial Village. He then asked Changtian where he had heard about that place. Su Yuan answered casually that the little fox woman had told him. Hearing this, Su Yinghe and Su Chang'e exchanged a glance. Su Yinghe continued to press the issue, asking what exactly she had told him. Su Yuan replied honestly that the little fox woman claimed she had been sent by Qin Weijio to get close to Qin Mo, and that Qin Mo seemed to be connected to a place called Burial Village. The moment he heard that, Su Yinghe directly cut off the transmission. Then he told Su Chang'e to return to Jinjiang City first and help Su Yuan deal with the trouble there. If Su Chang'e encountered Qin Mo on the way, he was to kill him personally. After all, Qin Mo had been raised by that group of disasters, and his cultivation was clearly abnormal. If he truly grew stronger, he would likely become a serious problem. More importantly, Qin Mo still had Burial Village's secret treasure, the soul-nurturing ring. Back when Su Inghe destroyed Burial Village, he had searched nearly every inch of the place and still failed to find it. According to ancient records, a saint's soul mark was being nurtured inside that ring, but there was no need to worry too much. Even a saint could not withstand the erosion of time. Now, the other party was only a remnant soul. As long as Su Chang'e went all out, killing him would be effortless. Meanwhile, on Su Yuan's side, after confirming that the transmission had ended, he was just about to return home when Stewardly stopped him. Stewardly took out a secret report from his sleeve and handed it to Su Yuan, saying it had arrived a few days ago from Jin City in Jiangnan Prefecture. Su Yuan opened it and read it. His expression instantly darkened, and he asked Stewardly whether he knew about the matter of arranging people to search for Qin Mo. Stewardly stammered slightly, admitting that he knew about it and that they had indeed found him, but there was a small problem. Su Yuan told him to explain the whole process clearly. It turned out that during the past few days, while Su Yuan had been in seclusion, the men Stewardly sent out had found Qin Mo at Changhong Valley, 20 li outside the western city. But Qin Mo's strength was absurd. He clearly only had 8th rank meridian tempering cultivation, yet even a team led by 2 7th rank bone tempering experts was no match for him. Su Yuan frowned and demanded to know why he had not sent 6th rank experts as reinforcements, pointing out that there were quite a few peak 6th rank guards. Stewardly explained that he did not have the authority to directly mobilize guards above the bone refining stage. Besides, no one had expected Qin Mo to be capable of killing above his rank. Stewardly quickly assured the young master not to worry, explaining that Changhong Valley only had one exit. He had already reported the matter to the main manor and, after receiving approval, dispatched 3 iron body experts to wait for him at the valley entrance. Su Yuan sneered inwardly. Wait for what? For the protagonist to clear the Changhong Valley dungeon, come out, and wipe them all out? He immediately opened the system and began reviewing the plot. Since Qin Mo had gone to Changhong Valley, that meant he had taken the hidden Old Master route. There was a secret realm inside Changhong Valley, and within it was a spiritual herb that could help the Old Master attached to him recover soul power. Besides helping the Old Master recover, based on the rule that a protagonist never leaves a dungeon empty-handed, Qin Mo would definitely fight monsters, consume pills, level up, and come out much stronger than before. In this main storyline, the original body would bring Su Jinxian and a group of subordinates to block the protagonist at the entrance of Changhong Valley. The result, of course, was that Qin Mo killed them all in return. To avoid alerting the enemy, Su Yuan immediately ordered Stewardly to call all those people back. Then he rubbed his forehead. Even with Ing'er and 3 grandmasters by his side, relying on that lineup to kill Qin Mo still was not realistic. Unless Ran Qingma happened to come looking for him at this exact time. Then he could use that favor and go straight to Changhong Valley to block the entrance. But for now, that was only wishful thinking. Afterward, Su Yuan and Ing'er headed toward the small dark room together. Through his conversation with Ing'er, Su Yuan learned that Su Jinxuan's mental state seemed to have developed some problems. Even after her hands and feet were untied, she only crouched in the corner without saying a word. Su Yuan reminded Ing'er not to keep her locked up for too long, or she really would go insane. But Ing'er's eyes actually lit up as she claimed this punishment was strange and effective enough to be added to the Black Forest Hunter punishments. She had already reported it to Lady Luji, and, according to the rules, a reward would be issued to the 3rd young master later. The moment Su Yuan heard the name Luji, cold sweat broke out all over him. That poisonous woman was one of his villainous father's most loyal confidants and was in charge of the entire Black Forest Guard. Su Yuan could not help asking Ing'er what exactly the reward was going to be. Ing'er answered honestly that Lady Luji intended to give it to him personally when the 3rd young master returned to the imperial capital. Those words instantly brought back some unpleasant memories for Su Yuan. He immediately told Ing'er to pass a message to Luji, saying he had no interest in any reward from that old Annie. After that, Su Yuan arrived at the small dark room. Looking at Su Jinxian, who looked pale, exhausted, and pitiful, Su Yuan let out a soft sigh and reached out to pull her up from the ground. Su Yuan teased her, asking if she had been sleeping well these past few days in such a quiet and peaceful environment. With tears in her eyes, Su Jinxian cursed him, calling Su Changtian a demon and telling him to just kill her if he had the guts. Su Yuan smiled faintly and asked if he really was a demon, then why was Miss Su not throwing his hand away? With that, Su Yuan let go. Su Jinchuan's expression instantly turned frightened and uneasy. Then she crouched on the ground, trembling non-stop. After enduring more than 10 days of inhuman torment, the fact that she had not gone insane already was impressive. It was only natural for her to react like this. Su Yuan thought to himself that this really made him look like the villain. Clearly, this woman was the one who had attacked him first. Then he reached out to Su Jinxin again, urging her to stop being so stubborn, take his hand, and go outside with him. Meanwhile, on the other side, Qin and Mo had already entered the secret realm inside Changhong Valley. The place was filled with massive demonic beasts covered in ghostly flames. Qin and Mo quickly asked the old master what those monsters were. The old master explained that these were demonic beasts corrupted by strange ghosts. After being killed, they would drop demon crystals, which were excellent supplements for the cultivation method Qin and Mo practiced. Qin and Mo was speechless. How was he supposed to benefit from them? As long as he was not stomped to death by those things, he would already be thanking the heavens. The old master told Qin and Mo not to rush. Some mortals who had once lived here had also been corrupted, and with Qin Mo's current strength, killing those corrupted mortals would be enough. The old master added that if Qin and Mo wanted to borrow his power to save that sweetheart of his, he had to take some risks. He then advised him that losing his head over a woman was a stupid thing to do, pointing out that if he had listened to him back then and cultivated the great Yin-Yang Joy Art, none of this would have happened. With one dose of joy powder, the deed would already be done. But Qin and Mo completely ignored that and pressed on, asking the old master what exactly strange ghosts were since he just mentioned the beasts were corrupted by them. The old master was a little surprised. He had not expected Qin and Mo to know nothing about strange ghosts. It seemed that many things had happened in the outside world over the past several thousand years. Just as he was about to start reminiscing, Qin and Mo cut him off directly, telling the old man to stop wasting words and get to the point. The old master poked his fingers together pitifully, complaining that he had been stuck in this soul-nurturing realm for thousands of years with no one to talk to, forced to do nothing but study cultivation methods. Now that he had given Qin and Mo the cultivation method, Qin and Mo would not even chat with him for a moment. After that, the old master began explaining the origin of strange ghosts. These things came from the depths of the great wilderness and were extremely dangerous. Back then, if not for the surging Qi tide and the sudden rise of countless heroes, these strange ghosts might have already slaughtered the human race to extinction. Great Yin bordered the sea to the east, the barbarians to the north, the great desert to the northwest, and the ancient abyss to the southwest. Only the south was the most stable, precisely because it leaned against the great wilderness. In Qin Mo's original understanding, the great wilderness was nothing more than a barren land. He had never expected it to be this dangerous. The old master snapped back, asking what else he thought it could be. He emphasized that only saints could open up space, yet this secret realm had once been breached by a strange ghost, so Qin and Mo should now understand just how dangerous they were. The scene shifted. Back inside the Su Manor, Su Jinxian was eating slowly and carefully. Su Yuan watched her and guessed that she would probably stay stubborn to the end, refusing to reveal any useful information. But that was normal. If she could so easily betray the benefactor she valued most, then she would not be worthy of being one of the heroines of Sangyuan. Once Su Jinxian finished her meal, Su Yuan casually tossed her a plain silk handkerchief. He told her calmly and certainly not to worry, because he had not used it. Su Jinxian picked up the silk handkerchief and gently wiped the grains of rice from the corner of her mouth. But in the very next second, Su Yuan suddenly changed his tune, saying that he might have grabbed the wrong one, and that silk handkerchief seemed to have been used before. Hearing that, Su Jinchuan's face instantly flushed bright red. Seeing her reaction, Su Yuan smiled and said he was only joking. Su Jinxian gritted her teeth and demanded to know if Su Changtian found it fun to toy with her like this. Su Yuan replied calmly that if it were not fun, he would not have bothered in the first place. At that point, Su Yuan's tone suddenly turned serious. If Su Jinxian were not still useful, he would honestly prefer to kill her outright rather than tease her. After that, Su Yuan gave Su Jinxian two choices. The first was to send her back to the secret room and keep her locked up. But before he could even mention the second choice, Su Jinxian interrupted hurriedly, shouting that she chose the first one. After saying that, she started trembling again from the lingering fear of that room. Seeing this, Su Yuan could not help but wonder what exactly made her trust Mr. Qin so deeply. Su Jinxian explained in a low voice that she owed Mr. Qin everything. Hearing those words, Su Yuan burst into laughter. He sneered and mocked her, saying that his kindness really was beyond measure, considering he killed her entire family before raising her. Su Jinxian did not believe him at all, convinced that Su Yuan was just trying to sow discord between them. That was until Su Yuan took out a secret report from the Black Scale Guard and told Su Jinxian to read it with her own eyes. Su Yuan then asked her if she knew why Mr. Qin never taught her any cultivation methods. He stated bluntly that it was because the charm soul demon body was far too unpredictable. Mr. Qin was afraid one of his own subordinates might accidentally be charmed by her and reveal the truth about what happened back then. As he spoke, Su Yuan took out an ancient text about the charm soul demon body and told her to first confirm the facts recorded there, then decide whether she wanted to read the Black Scale Guard's secret report. Su Yuan left her with a final word, saying he would return in half an hour, and if she still insisted on her beliefs by then, he would say nothing more. After that, Su Yuan went out into the courtyard. Through the Black Scale Guard's investigation, Su Yuan learned that before Su Jinchuan's parents died, they had run a moderate-sized merchant guild around Jin City in Jiangnan Prefecture. There were two groups behind the attack on her family. One provided the funds, while the other provided the muscle. The ones who paid were 3 textile guilds in Jiangnan, and the executors were a group of bandits. But after the job was done, those bandits were wiped out by the same 3 guilds that had hired them. In the end, those 3 guilds acquired all of the Su family's businesses at a low price through legal auction. Since everyone who knew the truth had been silenced, even the Black Scale Guard found almost nothing when they thoroughly investigated those textile guilds. It had to be said that Qin Weijio had handled this matter very professionally, but he could not account for the idiots among his subordinates. 10 years later, after changing hands several times, the Su family's assets ended up under the name of a man called Shi Tsang. This man was the older brother of the son-in-law of the Konghua Merchant Guild chairman. More importantly, the power standing behind the Konghua Merchant Guild was the very sect affiliated with Qin Weijio's clan. Soon, half an hour passed. Su Jinxian had finished reading the entire secret report. Then she looked up and asked Su Yuan if there was any further evidence of contact between Mr. Qin and the Konghua Merchant Guild. Su Yuan immediately had someone bring over a large pile of account books. The records clearly showed that every month, the Konghua Merchant Guild transferred large amounts of silver, medicinal herbs, and other resources to Tianyu's sect, the sect Qin Weijio belonged to. Looking at the mountain of evidence before her, Su Jinchuan's heart finally wavered. Even if Su Changtian had fabricated these books on the spot, there were simply too many of them to ignore. Seeing the conflicted look on her face, Su Yuan casually picked up one of the account books. He stated generously that if she needed the Konghua Merchant Guild's falsified accounts for comparison, he could order the Black Scale Guard in the imperial capital to send them over immediately. Hearing this, Su Jinchuan's heart completely wavered, because if all of this had been forged, then Su Yuan would also have to fabricate an equally large set of fake account books. A project of that scale could never be completed in just 10 days. Su Yuan told her to take her time reading, while he went off to handle other matters first. After all, something a person had believed for more than 10 years was like a solid boulder. Shaking it would not be easy. But now, the seed called doubt had already been planted. All he had to do next was wait for it to grow. No matter how solid that boulder was, it would eventually crack and crumble from within. And all Su Yuan needed to do was wait. After that, Su Yuan stepped into the martial proclamation courtyard. The moment he got close, he heard the sharp rush of wind from the arena. In the center of the platform, 2 martial apprentices were already locked in battle. As fists blurred and crossed, one of them quickly reached his limit. One of them repeatedly shouted that he surrendered. The other fighter immediately withdrew his fists and stood still. The result was decided in an instant, and cheers erupted from below the stage. Watching this scene, Su Yuan could not help sighing. The strength of an 8th rank Meridian Tempering martial artist really was impressive. Qin Mo was also 8th rank right now, yet he alone could beat every 8th rank guard in the Su family. To figure out the gap between himself and Qin Mo, Su Yuan walked straight onto the arena and loudly announced to the crowd that he would be the arena master for this match, asking who dared to come up. The moment he said that, everyone backed away, all thinking that the 3rd young master had come up with some new way to torment them. Seeing this, Su Yuan immediately promised that this was purely a martial arts spar and that he would not hold anyone responsible. On top of that, the winner would receive 1 bone tempering pill. For martial apprentices, that was an extremely valuable cultivation resource. The muscle-bound giant who had just won the previous match raised his hand, expressing that he would like to try. Su Yuan also happened to want to use him to test his own strength. He had originally thought that although he could not compare to Qin Mo, with the blood origin falling star art strengthening him, beating an 8th rank brute should still be easy. But the instant the match began, the burly man appeared in front of Su Yuan in the blink of an eye. With just one punch, he blasted Su Yuan off the arena. Seeing Su Yuan standing there without moving, everyone thought the muscle-bound giant was doomed for actually offending the famously vengeful 3rd young master. But Su Yuan did not lash out. He simply took out a bone-tempering pill from his pocket and tossed it to the man. Then he stepped back onto the arena and loudly asked who was coming next. Everyone looked at one another. Then, one after another, they raised their hands and began fighting for the chance to go up. Half a month later, Su Yuan's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. He could already fight back and forth against those martial apprentices. In the final exchange, he even punched his opponent off the stage. The martial apprentice conceded wholeheartedly, admitting that he had lost. The blood-red vitality around Su Yuan slowly faded. He thought to himself that even though he had relied on the powerful force granted by the blood origin falling star art to forcibly smash his opponent out of the arena, he had still won once in the end. Zhou Ku, who had been watching from the side, signaled that the opponent had not held back. Su Yuan nodded in satisfaction and told Zhou Ku to give that man a bone-tempering pill. That would be the end of today's matches. After leaving the martial proclamation courtyard, Su Yuan rubbed his swollen face. He sighed that these guards were getting more and more willing to go all out. Zhou Ku agreed, pointing out that since the young master's real combat ability was improving so fast, if the guards did not use their full strength, they would not be able to get their daily bone-tempering pill. Su Yuan smiled bitterly. Although his practical combat ability had indeed improved rapidly, in the end, it mostly came from the stat advantage granted by the blood origin falling star art. His speed and explosive power had clearly surpassed the meridian tempering martial apprentices by a large margin, yet the fights still usually ended in a draw. In the end, it was because his mastery of the blood origin falling star art was still not good enough. According to the description of the blood origin falling star art, once all its techniques were used skillfully, he should be invincible among those of the same rank. Just then, a maid hurried over. The maid reported to the 3rd young master that Miss Su wanted to see him. A moment later, Su Yuan returned to the room. The entire room was in complete disorder. Su Jinxian, meanwhile, was sitting expressionlessly in a chair. Su Yuan sat down in front of her and asked if Miss Su had finished reading. Su Jinxuan's voice was hoarse, as if she had just cried for a long time, and she replied that she had not, because there was no need to keep reading. Su Yuan took a sip of tea and asked if she had figured it out now. Su Jinxian fell silent for a moment. Then she asked Su Yuan what he wanted her to do. Su Yuan said calmly that he needed her to do 3 things. First, tell him everything she knew about Qin Weijiu. Second, follow his orders and send Qin Weijiu false information. As for the third, help him cultivate. Su Jinxian said the first 2 were not a problem, but when it came to the third, her cheeks flushed slightly, and her tone turned a little shy as she tentatively asked if he wanted to dual cultivate with her. That charming look almost made Su Yuan lose control for a second. However, Su Yuan had no intention of dual cultivating with her. What he truly wanted to borrow was Su Jinxuan's bewitching soul seed. He wanted to use it to cultivate his technique that devoured foreign souls. After all, once an ordinary person's foreign soul was devoured, it would be very difficult to recover. But Su Jinxuan's bewitching soul seed was different. As long as she rested enough, her sea of consciousness could continuously condense more of them. Su Jinxian looked up at him and demanded to know if he was trying to use her as a cultivation furnace. Su Yuan smiled, saying that wording was a little harsh, and reminded her that she had tried to mentally control him, which alone made them mortal enemies. Yet not only did he spare her life, he even helped her uncover the truth from back then. He was also planning to help her kill that bastard Qin Weijiu at the Chancellor's manor. Su Jinxian tilted her head, looked at Su Yuan, and stated that she was not planning to refuse him either. Seeing that she had agreed, Su Yuan gave her a bottle of pills that could nourish soul intent. Su Yuan instructed her that Inger would come over later, and she should tell Inger directly about anything related to Qin Weijiu. With that, Su Yuan turned and left. He left a final instruction that as for the cultivation matter, she should come to his room tonight. Interrogating someone for information still had to be left to a professional. Since Su Jinxian had stayed beside Qin Weijiu, she must have come into contact with at least some important information. But compared with that, using Su Jinxian to feed Qin Weijiu false information was the real key. If this card was played properly, it might even be enough to trap Qin Weijiu to death. The scene shifted. Su Yuan once again appeared on the martial arena, continuing to spar with those martial apprentices. His opponent seized an opening and kicked toward him. But the kick was blocked by a shield condensed from blood-red vitality. This move was called Blood Mirror, one of the defensive techniques Su Yuan could use at the 8th rank stage of the Blood Origin Falling Star art. After that, no matter how his opponent attacked, every move was blocked by Su Yuan's Blood Mirror. Right now, Su Yuan felt an unprecedented rush of satisfaction. This was what cultivation should feel like. Seeing Su Yuan so pleased with himself, the 8th rank martial apprentice opposite him stopped holding back and directly used the martial technique Triple Collapse. When the people below the stage saw this, they all thought he had lost his mind. He actually dared to use a martial technique against the 3rd young master. The martial apprentice threw a punch, instantly shattering every blood mirror. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Su Yuan, his raised fist about to fall. Su Yuan immediately condensed another blood mirror and blocked him. At the same time, he activated his blood-red vitality and punched the martial apprentice off the stage. A few drops of cold sweat appeared on Su Yuan's forehead. He thought to himself that he had almost lost control of the fight. Fortunately, his vitality reserves far surpassed those of these martial apprentices. Just then, Inger appeared. Su Yuan immediately stopped the match, walked up to her, and asked what the matter was. Inger handed him a secret technique manual and said it was from Lady Luji. There was also another piece of news. First young master had already arrived in Kaifeng City and would probably reach Jinjiang in a few days. Hearing this, the corners of Su Yuan's mouth curled upward. Judging by the timing, Qin Mo should be coming out of the secret realm dungeon soon. Maybe this time, Su Yuan really would have a chance to bring his convenient elder brother along and block him at the exit. Just then, Su Yuan noticed Su Jinxian behind him. Every afternoon, she would come watch him train. She never said anything and would leave once it was over. This made Su Yuan rather curious, so he stopped her on the spot. He asked how his current strength compared with Qin Mo's. Hearing that, Su Jinxian was stunned for a moment. Then her face flushed slightly as she asked if Su Changtian was jealous. Su Yuan turned his head away and calmly replied that she could understand it however she wanted, and that maybe he was. Su Jinxian thought for a moment and said that with his current strength, if he were to face Qin Mo, he might die in a single exchange. Hearing that he would be instantly killed, Su Yuan fell silent. But he was not exactly surprised. After all, Qin Mo was the chosen son of fate with the protagonist Yahello. In a real life-or-death battle, it was perfectly normal for him to instantly kill Su Yuan. Su Jinxian said the reason she reached that conclusion was because Su Yuan had no way to deal with one of Qin Mo's killing moves. It was something similar to a sword technique. Worried that Su Yuan would not understand, Su Jinxian even gestured with both hands. Su Yuan watched her movements and thought to himself, wasn't that just forward slash? A small movement skill. But Su Jinxuan's next words made him lose his calm. When Qin Mo charged forward, his speed would become extremely fast. So fast that her naked eye could not follow him, and he could cross more than 10 meters in an instant. A few drops of cold sweat appeared on Su Yuan's forehead. He quickly asked her to explain in more detail, because only a grandmaster could move so fast that the eye could not see them. Qin Mo was only 8th rank, so that should have been impossible. Su Jinxian recalled carefully and said that Qin Mo's starting motion and landing motion were both at normal 8th rank speed, but the distance in between seemed as if he had vanished. Hearing this, a combo instantly flashed through Su Yuan's mind. Wasn't that flash plus forward slash? He was far too familiar with that move. As long as the timing was right, using forward slash could turn its original short dash into a long-distance lunge. It was one of the essential techniques for fighting bosses above one's level. But in this world where the game had become reality, Qin Mo could not possibly be using this move by exploiting a bug. That meant he had most likely grasped this technique through some kind of higher-level sudden enlightenment, turning it into an actual secret art. His comprehension was terrifying. This man absolutely could not be allowed to live. After coming back to his senses, Su Yuan calmly stated that he understood. But Su Jinxian stared at him with a blank, wide-eyed look and tentatively asked if he actually believed her. Su Yuan replied that lying to him did not benefit her, and besides, she was one of them now. Seeing that Su Yuan fully trusted her, Su Jinxian revealed the flaw of Qin Mo's killing move. Every time he used it, he would enter a weakened state afterward. That was probably the price he paid for borrowing that power. Then she asked why he cared so much about Qin Mo. Su Yuan turned his head and retorted that since she said he was jealous, they could just treat it that way. Su Jinxian pondered for a moment and agreed to treat it that way, adding that if he really cared about Qin Mo that much, he would be able to see him very soon. Su Yuan was puzzled and asked what she meant. Su Jinxian took out a secret report from her sleeve, explaining that today Qin Weijio had sent her a message saying Qin Mo had already come out of Changhong Valley and wanted to save her. She added that Qin Weijio wanted her to do everything she could to encourage Su Yuan to leave the city and kill him. Su Yuan immediately fell into thought. Why was Qin Weijio's first task for Su Jinxian to make Su Yuan kill Qin Mo? According to the logic of the plot, Qin Weijio was not doing this because he wanted Qin Mo dead. He wanted Su Yuan, the third young master, to be killed by Qin Mo instead. Was Qin Weijio trying to make Qin Mo and the Chancellor's Manor become mortal enemies? But Qin Mo already had the blood feud of Burial Village with the Chancellor's Manor. Doing this would be completely unnecessary. Suddenly, Su Yuan seemed to realize something. He quickly asked Su Jinxian whether Qin Weijio had ever told her to investigate Qin Mo's village while she was traveling with him. Su Jinxian nodded and said she had. Qin Mo had said that the elders in the village treated him like their own child. But whenever he spoke of those elders, his mood would instantly shift from happy to depressed. Su Yuan continued to ask whether she had reported that to Qin Weijio. Su Jinxian shook her head, stating that she had only told him about Qin Mo's relationships in the village. This made Su Yuan even more certain of his guess. The situation was now clear. Qin Weijio's true goal was to make Burial Village and the Chancellor's Manor enemies. Although the people in Burial Village were old monsters hiding there in retirement, their personal connections were still alive. Add in the experts of Burial Village itself, and this was already an extremely massive force. So Qin Weijio wanted to pull this force onto his side. Without a doubt, it was a brilliant move. Unfortunately for him, Burial Village had already been wiped out. Su Yuan could not help sighing. Sometimes, thinking too highly of an enemy really was like matching wits with empty air. Then he took out a secret technique manual from his robe and handed it to Su Jinxian, telling her that it was the cultivation method for the bewitching soul seed and that she should take it. But Su Jinxian did not reach out to accept it. She only twisted her hands together somewhat awkwardly and asked in a low voice if he was not afraid she would turn against him if he gave her that. Su Yuan smiled, stating bluntly that chaos was about to break out across the world, and since he was optimistic about the potential of her charm soul demon body, he wanted to invest in her. He added that even if he lost out in the end, at least he probably would not have raised an ungrateful wolf. Only then did Su Jinxian gently take the manual, a warmth rising in her heart. She silently vowed that she would repay this favor. The scene shifted. Su Yuan arrived at the communication pavilion in the northern courtyard. He had to report the matter to that old Annie Luji in the imperial capital. Soon, a mature and seductive voice came from the other end of the transmission, teasingly asking if their Chang Tian had actually taken the initiative to contact his big sister. Su Yuan cleared his throat and stated that he had already given Su Jinxian the secret method for the charm soul demon body. Luji replied with a slightly jealous tone that she knew, pointing out that he had enro come to her for that thing, just so he could give it to that little fox woman. Then her voice turned even more resentful as she complained about how he just handed over a secret method worth 50,000 taels on the market. She continued to complain that because of this, that old man Hua Hong had been nagging her all day, even demanding that her black scale guard compensate his Qianan Chamber of Commerce at full price. Su Yuan smiled and asked if she had actually paid him. Hearing that, the voice on the other end became even more aggrieved, repeatedly questioning what there was to pay, and emphasizing that every coin of the Black Scale Guard was earned with their lives, so there was no reason to pay. After that came a long string of complaints. 2.5 minutes later, Luji suddenly asked for confirmation, asking Chang Tian if his big sister was right. Su Yuan folded his arms and agreed repeatedly, saying she was absolutely right. Hearing this, Luji sounded as if hearts were practically floating above her head. She praised Chang Tian for being the sweetest, guessing that he had come to his big sister for something else too, and told him to just ask for whatever he wanted. Su Yuan immediately refused, calling her Aunt Lu, and stated that he just wanted to know how the Black Scale Guard planned to deal with Qin Weijio. Luji dragged out her words in a seductive tone, saying that it would depend on whether he was willing to part with that little fox woman. Su Yuan was a little surprised and immediately asked the Annie why she would say that. Luji let out a soft snort. She mentioned lightly that if he was willing, she planned to send Su Jinxian in as an undercover agent, warning him that she might die. She explained that after a month of investigation by the Black Scale Guard, they discovered that there was someone else behind Qin Weijio, though they still did not know who that person was. Luji added that Su Jinxian had already agreed, and now it depended on whether Su Yuan was willing to let her go. Su Yuan thought for a moment and stated as a matter of course that he was willing, reasoning that the whole point of investing in her was to get returns. But he was also slightly concerned, pointing out that with Su Jinxuan's somewhat naive personality, if she really worked as an insider, she would probably be exposed almost immediately. Luji told Su Yuan not to worry, as personality and speaking skills could both be trained. Luji joked that if he was interested, she could have Inger take him to try it, and after that, he would obediently start calling her big sister. Su Yuan shuddered on the spot, telling her to forget it, and stating that professional matters should be left to professionals. Luji suddenly shifted the topic, reminding Su Yuan that although Su Jinxian had already agreed, he had better ask her about this personally. Su Yuan was completely puzzled and asked why. Luji teased him with a smile, saying that Chang Tian really did not understand a woman's heart. If he did not ask her personally, that little fox woman would be sad. By then, she might truly become one of the Black Scale Guard's people. Only then did Su Yuan understand that this old Annie was helping him cultivate his own loyal subordinate. He immediately thanked her, but Luji stopped him at once and forced him to call her big sister. Su Yuan sighed. In the end, he very reluctantly called her big sister. This made Luji on the other end of the transmission absolutely delighted, praising Chang Tian for being such a good boy. Meanwhile, inside a cave in Changhong Valley, a pleasant female voice drifted over from afar. She asked why he was being so cautious, pointing out that even if Qin Mo broke through, he would only be 7th rank. Qin Weijio snorted, replying that he actually thought he was already being quite bold. He reasoned that Qin Mo had barely entered Changhong Valley before he came straight here without even looking at a map, suggesting that most likely someone was guiding him in real time. Yulan pondered for a moment, asking if he was referring to the Soul Realm. She added that she had read ancient records about it, noting that if it really was the Soul Realm, then a saint was living inside. A trace of respect appeared in Qin Weijio's eyes as he admitted that exactly because he knew that, he was being this careful. He said Qin Mo could not die, explaining that he had originally planned to help neither side and let them fight until both were badly hurt. But now it seemed he would have to secretly assist Qin Mo instead since there was a saint attached to him. He added that right now, they had something more important to do. After that, the two entered the secret realm. Soon, they saw demonic beasts dozens of meters tall, along with a dense cloud of blood mist. Qin Weijio frowned in confusion, asking what had happened to these demonic beasts and what kind of ghostly thing that mist was. Yulan explained that these were all corrupted demonic beasts, and as for the mist, it was not a ghostly creature, but an abyss formed by strange ghost corruption. She continued, explaining that once this blood mist appeared, it would continuously corrode and contaminate everything inside the space, including spiritual herbs and all kinds of cultivation resources, and if cultivators mishandled them, they would be corrupted into strange ghosts. Hearing this, both of them felt it was a great pity. Yulan asked Qin Weijio whether they should destroy the place or leave. She warned that if these corrupted demonic beasts were released, they would at least bring disaster to an entire prefectural city. But Qin Weijio chose to stay with a sinister expression, and he had no intention of leaving immediately. Since the saint had guided Qin Mo into the secret realm, there was likely a hidden treasure here that they could also use, so he decided to search deeper inside first. Qin Weijio decided that if they did not find anything within 3 days, they would leave and follow Qin Mo, and Yulan nodded in agreement. At the same time, outside Changhong Valley, Qin Mo was heading toward Jinjiang City, preparing to sneak into the Su Manor and rescue Su Jinxian. Suddenly, the old master seemed to sense something, and quickly hid back inside the ring. Qin Mo turned his head to look, and saw a white-haired girl with a cold expression and a long sword at her side. Qin Mo immediately felt as if he were facing a powerful enemy, and took up a fighting stance. But Ran Xingma simply looked at him, and asked if he knew the way to Jinjiang City. Hearing this, Qin Mo immediately let out a sigh of relief. So she was only asking for directions. He had thought she was from the Su Manor. He immediately pointed this hopelessly directionless girl in the right direction. Ran Xingma thanked him softly. Then she took some silver from her robe and gently placed it on the ground. After that, she rose into the air and flew toward Jinjiang City. Watching Ran Xingma's departing figure, the old master could not help sighing that this little girl was truly impressive. He praised her for being a grandmaster before even turning 18, noting her cultivation speed was even faster than his back in the day. Qin Mo listened with disbelief. The old master told him not to be so surprised, emphasizing that the world was vast, so vast that geniuses were as common as cattle hair. He evaluated that someone like that girl, just now, would still count as one of the top few of her generation, no matter what era she was born in. Hearing this, Qin and Mo felt somewhat discouraged as they were around the same age, yet he was only 7th rank, while she had already reached the 3rd rank Grandmaster realm. The old master told Qin and Mo not to belittle himself, stating that Qin and Mo was the type who built up slowly before erupting, and now that he was cultivating the old master's technique, his future achievements would definitely not be inferior to that girl's. At this point, the old master asked Qin and Mo why he had not traveled with that girl just now, noting that if he could befriend her, it would benefit him in the future. But Qin and Mo said he had indeed had that thought just now, but for some reason, he felt that if he followed her, he would be in danger. The scene shifted. Su Yuan was inside the scripture repository. While reviewing the plot, he was also reading reports about the northern border. That was because in one of Sung Yuan's world lines, the final boss the player faced was the barbarian race that invaded all the way down from the north. However, the original book had barely mentioned this war at all. 7 years ago, when Marquis Wuching was still guarding the northern border, those barbarians beyond the frontier had been beaten so badly they could not even raise their heads. But ever since Marquis Wuching was summoned back to the imperial capital, the situation in the north had deteriorated rapidly. To put it simply, internal infighting had caused their plan of raising bandits to preserve their own power to completely spiral out of control. The internal relationships within Great Yan's border army were extremely complicated. Every faction had its own hilltop, and when war truly broke out, they basically just pushed responsibility onto one another. As Su Yuan kept flipping through the pages, he suddenly stopped, because the barbarians depicted in the book were not human at all. After that, Su Yuan took out a copy of records of the northern barbarians and finally learned that barbarian was not a derogatory term the Great Yin dynasty used for the nomadic tribes beyond the frontier. Barbarians were simply barbarians, a race of intelligent humanoid monsters. They had hard, dark brown skin that blades and swords could barely cut through. Some even had sharp bone spikes growing from their fists and joints, as if they had been born purely for battle. Su Yuan had not known this in his previous life. After all, the reason he knew about the Ancient Abyss was that following the Ancient Abyss route allowed him to become a grassroots hero or even a dragon rider. As for the Northern Barbarian route, there were no benefits at all, and the girls were too ugly, so there had been no reason to learn about it. Just then, Su Jinxian walked in. She leaned down and asked Su Yuan why young masters like him, who were supposed to enjoy romance and pleasure, were suddenly concerned with affairs of state. Su Yuan quickly stood up and asked why she was there. Su Jinxian said lightly that she didn't want to come either, but since someone had told her to be more self-aware earlier, she had no choice but to come to that someone on her own. As she spoke, she released several bewitching soul seeds and attached them to Su Yuan's first soul. Su Yuan glanced at her. Only 3 days had passed, yet these bewitching soul seeds had already grown this much. No wonder Qin Weijio had deliberately removed the cultivation method for the bewitching soul seeds. Su Yuan paused, then said it was still daytime and told her to come back later. But Su Jinxian let out a soft laugh. With a seductive tone, she said that doing this sort of thing was not like entering a torture chamber, so there was no difference between daytime and nighttime. Su Yuan fell silent for a moment and said fine, since he had nothing else to do anyway. Let's go. On the way, Su Yuan told her about the undercover plan and asked what she thought. Su Jinxian froze for a moment and asked if her opinion really mattered. Su Yuan nodded and said that of course it did. He explained that if she was unwilling, forcing her to go would only have the opposite effect. But Su Jinxian lowered her head and asked him what he thought. Su Yuan said directly that his opinion was that she'd better not go. Su Jinxian's eyes flickered slightly and asked why. Su Yuan replied that it was because she was too foolish. He explained that he did not mean that as an insult, but because all her emotions were written right on her face, and she did not know how to hide them at all. He asked how she could possibly work as an insider with a personality like that. As he spoke, Su Yuan looked toward Zhou Ku beside them. He emphasized that Zhou Ku was a third-rank grandmaster who could hear her heartbeat clearly from more than 10 meters away. He added that Qin Weijio would not be weaker than him, so if her heartbeat sped up even slightly, he would hear it clearly. It might not count as mind reading, but when certain important topics came up, a sudden change in heartbeat could easily raise suspicion. Su Jinxian looked somewhat disappointed and asked if he didn't want her to go. Su Yuan shook his head and said it wasn't that he didn't want her to. It was just that he didn't think her current ability was enough to make her a proper insider. And if she went now, not only might he lose his investment, she might even end up being used against him. After that, Su Yuan gave Su Jinxian 2 choices. He told her the first was to stay safely by his side, promising to provide her with a cultivation method suited for the charm soul demon body. so that once her cultivation rose, she might have a chance to kill her enemy herself one day. Su Jinxian was silent for a while before asking softly what the second choice was. Su Yuan said the second was to continue as planned and follow the Black Scale Guard arrangements, noting that while the potential reward was huge, the risk was just as high. At this point, Su Yuan turned his back to her. He remarked that in her current state, even after training with the Black Scale Guard, he did not think her chances of surviving would be very high. As his words fell, a strong wind swept through, making the leaves rustle loudly. Su Jinxian knew very well that if she chose wrong, she would be stepping into an abyss. But in the end, she still chose the second path. Su Yuan was somewhat surprised, but he could understand, since she had no home to return to and was living under someone else's roof, rather than surviving on another person's charity. She might as well seize this tiny chance, risk everything, and take her fate back in her own hands. A moment later, Su Yuan walked out of the room, thinking that things had been developing quite smoothly lately. Su Jinxian was working very hard in cultivation. His foreign soul was also growing at a very satisfying speed. As Su Yuan became more and more skilled at using vitality, those 8th rank Meridian Tempering martial apprentices could barely touch him anymore. On top of that, his strongest trump card, Su Chang'e, had already arrived at Jiyuan City this morning, not far from Jinjiang City. In short, once his convenient elder brother arrived, combined with Su Yuan's own improvement in strength, even if he really ran into Qin Mo, he should at least be able to keep his life. Just then, Su Yuan noticed a group of servants standing by the lake. The moment they saw him, all of them bowed respectfully. Only one young man was half a beat slower. Not only was there no panic on his face, he looked completely calm, even carrying a faint sense of condescending confidence. Su Yuan immediately stopped the foreman and asked why those people were there. Hearing this, the foreman hurriedly told everyone to leave, then explained that these were newly hired servant laborers in the manor, and he was showing them around. A bad feeling instantly rose in Su Yuan's heart, wondering why there were new servant laborers at a time like this. Speaking of which, how many days does it take to travel from Changhong Valley to Jinjiang City? Wait. Thinking of this, Su Yuan quickly called the group back. Qin Mo, who was in disguise, instantly panicked and immediately sent a voice transmission to the old master. The old master told him to stay calm and said his aura had already been concealed. He had not been exposed. Sure enough, Su Yuan merely told the foreman not to bring people to gather by the lake in the future, since it was an eyesore. Only after everyone had left the courtyard did Su Yuan finally let out a breath of relief. He guessed that the person, just now, was most likely Qin Mo. The reason he had not exposed him on the spot was that he was afraid Qin Mo would be cornered and directly take his life. He had not expected this guy to actually come knocking at his door. Su Yuan marveled that Qin Mo dared to come despite the 3 grandmasters and the great formation inside Jinjiang City. Were protagonists this bold now? Still, with a saint helping him, sneaking into the manor to rescue someone was not completely impossible. Just then, Zhouke walked over. Su Yuan quickly asked him whether he knew how the long-term servants and laborers in the manor were recruited. Zhouke said he did not know the exact process, but most of them were relatives of old servants in the manor. Many of them basically inherited the job from their families. As for third-class labor positions like the one just now, there were plenty of crooked ways to obtain one, and most of them were sold off to others. After all, the world was becoming more chaotic. Many people were fighting desperately to squeeze into powerful noble families as long-term laborers, even if it meant selling themselves as servants. Where there were buyers, there would naturally be sellers. These words made Su Yuan even more certain of his guess. Then he told Zhouke what had just happened. Zhouke was extremely surprised after hearing it. That was because he had not detected any aura from the newly arrived servants, so he wondered if the other party was an expert capable of blocking detection. Su Yuan guessed that Qin Mo had chosen to disguise himself as a laborer instead of directly sneaking in to rescue Su Jinxian, which meant he was still wary, so he probably would not take action immediately. So Su Yuan decided to keep everything as usual for now, to avoid alerting the enemy. At the same time, he told Zhouke to go to the communication formation and report the situation truthfully to Su Chang'e. If there was a high-level carry available for a boss fight, there was no reason to solo it. The most important thing now was to hurry up and call in the big shot. After Zhouke reported the situation to Su Chang'e gave Su Yuan 2 choices. First, Su Chang'e could return to the Su Manor in secret and directly kill Qin Mo. Second, he could rush to the Su Manor at top speed without concealing his vitality fluctuations at all, then kill Qin Mo with overwhelming force. These two choices looked similar on the surface, but they were completely different. The first option was only meant to kill Chin Mo and seize the soul nurturing ring. The second option was not just about killing Chin Mo. It was also about crippling a few people hiding in the dark. Once those people realized that Chin Mo, the person they had placed a heavy bet on, was about to be killed, they would definitely step in to stop it. And anyone who came would at least have to be at Chin Weijio's primordial origin stage. That was exactly why Su Chang'e gave Su Yuan two choices. If a primordial origin stage expert really came to interfere, even Su Chang'e would find it difficult to kill all of them in a short time. And during that window, the Saint's remnant soul inside Chin Mo would likely notice the three grandmasters inside the manor. At that point, Su Yuan would have to coordinate with the city formation and stall Chin Mo until Su Chang'e freed himself up and arrived. But the real question was, could they actually stop Chin Mo when he had the protagonist Yahello protecting him? Su Yuan knew very well that his current situation was extremely dangerous. After hesitating for a while, he still resolutely chose the second plan. Since his elder brother was willing to back him up, Su Yuan naturally could not act like a coward. He had to teach Chin Weijio a brutal lesson. Just then, Su Jinxian came looking for him. Seeing her flushed cheeks and slightly awkward expression, Su Yuan asked what was wrong and if she needed something from him. Su Jinxian turned her head away in embarrassment and revealed that Chin Mo had just confessed to her. Su Yuan was a little surprised, but not exactly shocked. After all, Chin Mo was already Su Jinxuan's admirer. Still, why was Su Jinxian bringing this up on purpose? Su Jinxian softly suggested that he had better have someone send her away later, pointing out that Chin Mo could even block the perception of a third-rank grandmaster. She warned that if Chin Mo came looking for her while Su Yuan happened to be with her, he would definitely be in danger. Su Yuan's heart instantly tightened. He had only considered the possibility that Chin Mo would run, but he had forgotten that the protagonist on the hidden Old Master route was still half a hot-blooded youth. If he lost his head over a woman and came straight to fight Su Yuan to the death, that was not impossible. Su Yuan immediately thanked Su Jinxian. Su Jinxian gently shook her head, saying it was fine, and excused herself. Hearing that, Su Yuan turned back and reminded her that if she ever got the chance to visit Burial Village, she should take a look at bewitching Soul Valley north of the village. The scene shifted. Chin Weijio, who had just come out of the secret realm, was standing outside Jinjiang City, secretly watching every movement inside. Suddenly, Yulan appeared. Her tone was clearly anxious as she questioned why Chin Weijio had allowed Chin Mo to enter the Su family manor. As she spoke, she snatched the token from Chin Weijio's hand. She scolded him, saying that he had only just come out of the secret realm, and his father had already told her that he still did not know who the saint inside the soul nurturing ring really was. Chin Weijio remained completely calm and stated that he naturally knew. Yulan frowned and demanded to know why he still dared to send Chin Mo into the Su manor if he knew. She warned that if something happened to Chin Mo, the soul nurturing ring would fall into Su Inghe's hands, asking if he didn't understand what that meant, since that was the Saint Venerable of the Heaven-Watching Pavilion. Chin Weijio told Yulan not to panic, explaining that sneaking into the manor to rescue someone had been Chin Mo's own decision, and since he dared to go in, he must have had his own confidence. Besides, even if Chin Mo was young and reckless, would the saint who helped him sneak into the Su manor also be that careless? There was no such thing as a perfectly safe plan in this world. Any plan came with risk. Yulan fell silent for a moment. In the end, she only said in a low voice that she hoped he knew what he was doing. But in the next second, Chin Weijio suddenly sensed a wave of vitality that was not being concealed at all. He looked up and saw someone streaking through the air toward Jinjiang City. Cold sweat appeared on Chin Weijio's forehead as he wondered inwardly who would be rushing to Jinjiang Prefecture at a time like this. Realizing that the aura felt all too familiar, memories surged through his mind. The shadow left by that terrifying sword art still made his heart tremble even now. There was no mistake. The person coming was Su Chang'e. Chin Weijio gave a bitter smile, then turned and told Yulan the situation. Yulan's expression instantly changed with shock. She asked in shock if he meant Su Chang'e, the son of the Qinwei Chancellor, the one who slaughtered his way through the Tianyuan conference back then, left countless souls beneath his sword, and nearly killed a grandmaster with only 3 strikes. She also wondered aloud why he would come here. Chin Weijio said he did not know either. But right now, they had to stop Su Chang'e. No matter what, they could not let the soul-nurturing ring fall into Su Inghe's hands. Chin Weijio immediately activated his vitality and sent Chin Mo a voice transmission, telling him that he had already been exposed. Then he put on the mask he had prepared in advance, intending to stop Su Chang'e under the identity of an old friend from Burial Village. Meanwhile, the completely unaware Qin Mo was lying on a bed, happily imagining his future with Su Jinxian. Qin Mo chuckled, telling himself that she was different and just slow to warm up. The saint could not listen anymore and mocked him, saying the girl hadn't even agreed to anything, yet he was already celebrating. The saint suddenly cut Qin Mo off, telling him to wait because someone was sending him a voice transmission. Then he turned toward the window. In that instant, a streak of golden light was flying toward them. The saint smiled and warned him that if he really wanted to save her, he had better move fast because a powerful expert was coming, and he could hold him off for half a quarter of an hour at most. Judging from the aura, the saint believed the person who sent the transmission should be a primordial origin stage expert. Qin Mo immediately asked the saint if this person could be trusted. The saint thought for a moment, then said in a low voice that there was an 80% chance it was true. He explained that with that person's cultivation, killing him wouldn't be difficult. So if he was warning him through voice transmission at a time like this, he was most likely an old friend of someone from Burial Village. The saint suggested that an origin initiation expert getting involved made this far too dangerous, and perhaps it was better to retreat first, reminding him that as long as he stayed alive, he would still have another chance. But Qin Mo could not accept that. He knew escaping was the safest choice right now. But if he ran, what would happen to Jinxian? Was he supposed to repeat the past and watch someone important slip away from him again? He had already sworn to himself. He declared that everything he had lost, he would take back with his own hands, adding that he did not want to run anymore and asked his master for help. Meanwhile, on the other side, a loud hum echoed above Jinjiang City as a golden phantom slowly appeared in the sky. Countless attacks formed from condensed vitality blasted toward that phantom with terrifying force. The civilians below scattered in panic. When Su Yuan heard the commotion, he immediately realized that Su Chang'e had started fighting outside the city, and he figured Qin Mo's side would probably make a move soon as well. Zhou Ku quickly brought Su Yuan into an underground secret chamber to hide. As for Zhou Ku himself, he would join the other two grandmasters and stall Qin Mo. Su Yuan could not help sighing inwardly. Having his life protected by someone else really felt terrible. Suddenly, a loud crash came from above his head. The entire secret chamber began shaking violently. Su Yuan immediately knew something was wrong. This chamber clearly had the blue spirit formation to block perception, so why had the attack landed right above him? It seemed this place had already been exposed, and if he did not get out now, he would soon be buried alive. The moment that thought crossed his mind, the secret chamber collapsed with a roar. Su Yuan immediately activated his blood-red vitality and smashed the falling boulders one after another, forcing his way out from underground. But the sight before him left him stunned. A pitch-black curtain had covered the entire Su Manor, preventing Jinjiang City's grand formation from locking onto its target. At the center of that curtain, Zhou Ku, Inger, and Ciziu were locked in a brutal fight against Qin Mo. Qin Mo was maintaining the black curtain while facing the siege of three grandmasters at the same time, yet he still showed no sign of losing. But his current appearance was extremely strange, making him seem more like a soul body, leaving Su Yuan wondering if this was some kind of special technique. At that moment, the great sword in Zhou Ku's hand let out sharp, whistling sounds. With a powerful swing, a black dragon roared out and charged straight toward Qin Mo. Although the attack failed to hit Qin Mo, it successfully tore open the black curtain. Just as Jinjiang City's grand formation was about to lock on a Qin Mo, that soul-like figure quickly formed a hand seal with one hand, and the shattered curtain repaired itself in an instant. Cold sweat appeared on his forehead as he shouted downward, urging Qin Mo to hurry up because he had already broken the formation on the Su Manor side, and insisting they had to capture the kid and leave immediately before they became trapped. The moment Su Yuan heard that, it felt like thunder exploded inside his head. Wait, was the person fighting in the sky not Qin Mo? If the saint had not taken control of Qin Mo's body, but had instead appeared directly as a remnant soul to face three grandmasters, then where was the real Qin Mo right now? While Su Yuan's thoughts raced, Instructor Wang, a peak 6th rank expert from the Martial Proclamation Courtyard, hurried over. Su Yuan immediately asked Instructor Wang what had happened to the others and where the guest experts of the 5th rank Soul Realm and 4th rank Body Fusion Realm were. Instructor Wang did not know either, only reporting that the formation in the Northwest Courtyard had been maintained by them earlier, and the formation spirit had probably run into danger. A terrible feeling rose in Su Yuan's heart. Su Chang'e had to deal with a second-rank origin initiation expert outside the city, while the three grandmasters were being held down by that old man's remnant soul. In other words, the only people guarding Su Yuan now were a group of peak 6th rank guards. If that was true, things were about to get ugly. Suddenly, a figure wrapped in murderous intent dropped from the sky and landed heavily in the main courtyard. Everyone looked closely and instantly recognized him. It was Qin Mo. After learning the truth, Qin Mo had flown into a rage and stormed into the Su Manor with his cheat-like old master. Seeing that Qin Mo had already reached 7th rank, Su Yuan knew that staying here with his current strength would only drag the guards down. He immediately jumped onto the roof, ready to make a run for it. But in the next second, he realized someone else had already tried to escape before him. The moment those people touched the black curtain, their first souls were drained dry, and they died on the spot. Now Su Yuan had nowhere left to retreat. The entire Su Manor had practically been reduced to ruins, and corpses were scattered everywhere he looked. Only one squad of 6th rank guards was still struggling to hold the line. If Qin Mo killed them too, Su Yuan would have to face the story's protagonist alone. Rather than stand there waiting to die, he might as well jump in and fight with everything he had. Maybe there was still a sliver of a chance to turn the situation around. With that thought in mind, Su Yuan moved directly behind the guards. He started mocking Qin Mo, trying to shake his focus so he could not concentrate on breaking the formation. But Qin Mo completely ignored him. So Su Yuan decided to crank things up, asking if he was Qin Mo, and taunting that Jin Xian kept calling his name in bed and telling him to watch out, to the point where his ears had almost grown calluses. Hearing the woman he loved being humiliated like that, Qin Mo finally lost his composure. He slashed down with his sword, nearly shattering the guard's defensive formation in one blow. Su Yuan immediately realized that the provocation was working. He secretly activated his blood-red vitality and continued throwing out even more vicious words. Qin Mo knew Su Yuan was deliberately trying to ruin his rhythm and force him to burn through his strength faster, so he forced himself to calm down. But seeing that, Su Yuan only pushed harder, taunting that he had come too late and that if he had shown up earlier, things might have been different, but now Jin Xian belonged to him body and soul. Su Yuan even offered to tell Qin Mo exactly what had happened between him and Jin Xian that night. Qin Mo erupted in fury and roared at him to shut up. His voice was almost a beast-like roar. Blue lightning gathered wildly around him, carrying overwhelming force as he slashed straight at the 6th rank guards in front of him. In an instant, the formation's backlash spread outward, and the 6th rank guards were blasted away by that terrifying power. But that sword had also overdrawn Qin Mo's body, causing severe backlash. Blood spilled from the corner of his mouth, and only one thought remained in his mind: to kill. Qin Mo took his stance again, and the long sword in his hand let out a sharp whistle. In the next second, he vanished from where he stood. But what Qin Mo did not know was that Su Yuan had been waiting for this exact forward slash. At almost the same instant, Su Yuan activated his blood-red vitality and charged straight at him. Su Yuan shouted Blood Phoenix drill, deciding to take the gamble and bet on whose life was harder. With a thunderous crash, Su Yuan was violently blasted back by the surging vitality. Yet when he landed, he realized he had not been hurt at all. Qin Mo, on the other hand, now had a bloody hole drilled straight through his abdomen. Su Yuan secretly let out a breath of relief. Thankfully, Su Jinxian had told him about Qin Mo's move in advance. Otherwise, he really might have died here today. The teleport-like sword technique Qin Mo had suddenly comprehended was indeed terrifying, but once it was exposed ahead of time, all Su Yuan had to do was set a trap along the path Qin Mo had to pass through and wait for him to crash into it himself. At that moment, the few remaining guards quickly surrounded them. Qin Mo was badly wounded, his aura fading fast. He was clearly at the end of his rope. Su Yuan did not waste a single word and immediately ordered the guards to kill Qin Mo. Qin Mo forced himself to stay upright, gripping his sword as he struggled to defend. But in his current state, there was no way he could still fight several 6th rank guards. Just as Qin Mo was about to be killed on the spot, a surge of blue vitality suddenly wrapped around his body. In the next moment, that power lifted him slowly into the air. Everyone was shocked. No one expected the Saint's remnant soul to still have the strength to interfere with this side of the battlefield. The Saint looked at Qin Mo and sighed, saying that it seemed his trump card had already been exposed and that he really had trusted the wrong person. Qin Mo lowered his head, his voice heavy as he said not to blame Jin Xian, as he was the one who had been careless and underestimated the enemy. The Saint told Qin Mo not to dwell on it. reminding him that a setback could become a lesson and he just had to remember it next time. The moment he finished speaking, the attacks of the three grandmasters came crashing in one after another, only to be blocked by the saint with ease. He remarked that leaving now would not be difficult, but after this, he might fall asleep for a very long time, and from here on, Chinamo would have to rely on himself. With that, the saint unleashed his power. He formed hand seals, and a blue Buddha phantom slowly appeared behind him, quiet and solemn. In an instant, everything around them seemed to be swallowed by darkness. Zhou, Ke, Ciziu, and the others all moved as if they had been slowed down several times over. It was as though time itself had frozen. Forget attacking. Even getting close to them had become incredibly difficult. The saint warned Qin Mo that this control would not last long, so they had to leave immediately. Qin Mo lowered his head in guilt and apologized to his master. The saint scolded him with a smile, telling the kid to stop overthinking, explaining that he was only going to sleep, not die, and urging him to pull himself together, adding that this failure might even be a good thing as they would have plenty of chances in the future. But before he could finish speaking, several ice spikes tore straight through the black curtain in the very next second. Before either of them could react, a long sword pierced through the air and stabbed directly into the saint's whole body. Then a burst of cold erupted, freezing both the saint and Qin Mo together. Their figures fell from the sky. The black curtain covering the Su manor also disappeared completely. The guards stared at the scene in disbelief, wondering if they had been knocked down and if they had won. Su Yuan looked at the wounded guards behind him. A wave of emotion rose in his chest, and he took out several banknotes worth 100 taels each, tossing them to the guards. Instructor Wang was immediately flattered and alarmed. He declined, saying what happened just now was their duty and they could not accept the money. Su Yuan told them to take it without worry, as they deserved it. During his recent sparring sessions with these martial apprentices, Su Yuan had noticed many things. They had families, parents, ambitions, and their own joys and sorrows. Unlike NPCs in a game, every one of them was a living, breathing person. And now, so many of them had died protecting him. That left a weight in Su Yuan's heart that he could not easily shake off. He immediately ordered Instructor Wang to take the survivors and rescue the wounded, report the dead to the steward for burial and compensation, and finally reminded the instructor that he had troubled them enough. Watching Su Yuan's back as he left, Instructor Wang cupped his hands solemnly to thank the third young master on behalf of the brothers of the martial proclamation courtyard. Those words only made Su Yuan's heart feel heavier. This entire matter had started because of him. He did not deserve that gratitude. The scene shifted. Su Yuan walked up to the ice block and asked Zhou Ke, who had made that last sword strike, and if it was Su Chang'e. Zhou Ke shook his head and told the third young master that if he looked at the sword, he would know who it was. Su Yuan looked at the familiar longsword. Then he smiled faintly. Of course. Who else could have been? He turned around and saw Ran Qingma sitting in a tree. When she saw Su Yuan approach, she jumped down from the branch. Their eyes met. Su Yuan spoke first, greeting Mr. Ran and saying it had been a long time. Ran Qingma only looked at him quietly and corrected him in a cold voice that her name was Ran Qingma. Su Yuan paused for a moment, then quickly understood what she meant. So he smiled and said his name was Su Changtian. Hearing that, Ran Qingma's tone finally softened a little, replying that it had been a long time. Su Yuan looked at her and chuckled softly, asking if she was still herself and if that sword strike just now was her doing. Ran Qingma gave a small response, then stepped forward and retrieved her sword. Su Yuan immediately thanked her. Hearing his thanks, Ran Qingma's mind seemed to spin rapidly. She said seriously that thank you is the least valuable thing in this world. So now, he owed her a favor. She then calculated that he had owed her 2 favors before, so now, he should only owe her 1 favor. Su Yuan fell silent for a moment, then could only nod helplessly, confirming he only owed 1 favor and asking if both of them were dead. Ran Qingma answered calmly that they were not, and only one was dead.